So let's start
Yes, Rahul.
with the critical reasoning. Extremely important section, guys. So our first topic that we are going to discuss is assumption. I think you might have seen the video of last class. I have explained you the basics of critical reasoning. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of assumptions? Like all of you have read, can you please tell me what exactly assumptions means? And be extremely keep talking, or else it will be tough to understand.
Assumption is actually a connection between a premise and your conclusion.
That's a diploma. What is understanding of assumptions? Fast, please.
Sir, there are some certain facts given inside the argument, the paragraph, and
Huh.
there is the conclusion that is the main takeaway from the passage, and from the facts that are given to the takeaway, there is some certain understanding which we need to come at. For example, if uh, Jack scored if Jack studies every day, uh, uh,
Hold on. In a very simple note, what is the meaning of assumption? In
Uh,
just two, three wording.
can I try?
Yeah, please, please. Why not?
Assumption should be the missing link between the premise and conclusion, which help us to prove that our conclusion is true.
To some extent, okay, but I would still say a very diplomatic answer. Very
Okay.
extremely straightforward answer. What exactly you mean by assumptions?
Something which like we assume after reading a passage or a
That
sentence.
is again a very diplomatic. What do you assume? What do you mean by what do you assume? You be very open. Don't at all worry what you are speaking, what you are not speaking, because until you don't speak, it won't happen.
Like what is the understanding after reading the passage?
Yeah.
Rahul, through assumption, we can get to the conclusion. Means the statement we can strengthen
No,
the statement or weaken the statement.
no, no. Straightforward answer. Mind your words, what you're speaking. Rinal, what do you mean by assumptions?
So these are
Assump-
the unsaid information which we derive from the premises which is set in the passage, basically, right?
Unsaid information that you derive from the passage. Okay, to some extent, but I want a very normal answer, which should be very straightforward to everyone. Can't we say hidden
Assumption is
facts?
something. Yeah.
Simple logic, hidden facts.
Yeah.
And what is the role of a fact in the argument? So whatever you say, whatever you people have said, I'm not saying that you people have said something wrong, but try to learn because the wordings in CR, whatever you say is extremely important, and that is something that we need to learn. So when I say hidden facts, what is the role of a fact?
To support the conclusion
Simple
or to
logic
support the, yeah.
to support conclusion, right? Now everything that you were saying comes under this two wording for sure. Nothing else matters at all. Hidden facts, when I say assumptions are hidden facts. Hidden facts, it means what? Not stated in the argument. Straightforward. Not stated in the argument. Obviously, it won't be stated in the argument. This is taken by default. So last class, I have told you, please do not ever challenge the CR argument. So when I've told you not to challenge the CR argument, it simple means assumptions are something which is taken by default. It is considered by default true. So imagine if someone says that everyone above 18 years can vote. So Rahul can vote. What do you mean by what is the assumptions over here?
Rahul is above 18 here.
Yes.
That's absolutely straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Rahul is above 18 years. So please understand that this is taken by default. This should be understood to you by default. So there is a very thin line difference between assumptions and inference, I'll tell you. Assumptions are something which is not stated in the argument, and inference are something. What is inference? Inference is nothing but your understanding from the argument. So when I say you are preparing for GMAT, understand all these things very properly and speak as much as you can. It doesn't matter at all. Please open up your mouth, only then the understanding will be clear. So when I say you are preparing for GMAT, from Jan 2024. How can you infer this statement? Inference is nothing but your understanding of the argument. There's a humongous difference between assumptions and inference, and people go mad about it. So when I'm trying to say you are preparing for GMAT from Jan 2024, how can you infer this statement?
You started studying for GMAT from Jan.
No, I won't say that. Anyone else? How can you infer
There
this
is
statement?
A, you are studying about GMAT, and then second is there's a timeline that you started from January.
How can you infer? Wrong, Mrinal. Anyone else? Please tell me. I'm simple writing a statement. You have started preparing for GMAT from January 2024.
Rahul, it's 1 month of preparation now.
What?
It's 1 month of preparation.
No. I imagine if someone asked you to infer, you started from January 1, and someone asked you on 2nd January itself, how can you infer this statement? Then it's a 1 day of preparation. No, Srijit.
Understood.
So inference is all about the action. So you started preparing for GMAT. What is the action? Started. So now I'm giving you one hint. That inference is all about the action. Now tell me, how can you infer this statement? Tell. Swati.
You're planning to write the GMAT?
No. Please speak up. If you
So,
won't speak up,
so
I'm not
if
responsible.
for the
Please.
exam GMAT, I have started the preparation. So since I have started the preparation, so starting the preparation is an action for the GMAT.
Right. No. Swati, Divya, please tell. See, until you don't speak, it's hard to understand. I'm telling you, it's very straightforward. You have to say, you have to open up.
You have an aim for some GMAT score, so you started preparing for the GMAT.
No.
You are, I mean, it's definitely that you're going to take the GMAT at some point of time, which is why you've started.
No, absolutely impossible. You can start preparing for GMAT. It might happen that you never take a GMAT exam. And there has been a lot of such cases, a lot of cases of people preparing for CAT, but they have never taken a CAT exam. So simple inference to this statement is that you have never prepared for GMAT before 2024. Please understand. You have never prepared for GMAT before 2024. Before Jan 2024. This is a normal inference that you can make to this statement. 1 second. This is a normal inference that you make to this statement. Be very sure about it. Is this clear or not? When I say you started preparing for GMAT from January 2024, inference simple means, guys, your understanding from the argument. We'll be doing an inference topic at the last. Because in GMAT, be very sure, you have to be really good in inference. Why? Because almost 30% of GMAT question out of 21 question, 30% will be inference based question. Because in RC, I don't consider any other question. I consider there are two types of a question. One is your primary purpose, gist of the passes, key idea of the passes. Rest all the questions I can keep under inference. So now I think considering there is no SC, 50% question will be only inference to you in GMAT. So inference as a topic should be understood very well. And we'll understand this topic in the last. We'll start with the assumptions. And just I've told you assumptions, evaluate. I'll keep telling you what exactly we are doing. But there is a very basic understanding that is required, that what is the difference between assumptions and inference. Assumptions is hidden facts, which is not stated in the argument. Inference is nothing but your understanding from the passage. Wherever it comes, I'll keep explaining you inference when we read the argument and all. So let's come down to assumptions. Assumptions means hidden fact. And what is the role of a fact? Rule of a fact is to always support conclusions. So I can 100% say assumptions are something which is the backbone of an argument. Assumptions are something which always supports conclusion. There is an absolutely no ambiguity over there. Be 100% sure about it. So as I've told you, in critical reasoning, what happens that an argument is given to you. And this argument should be considered absolutely true. You will not bring one bit of information from your end, remember. So there's an argument given to you. An argument consists of facts and conclusion. First of all, your first job is to consider this argument as a true. And when I say fact, it also means premise. These are the different wording to say. It also means evidence. So all these words, it also means support, evidence, premise, facts. These are all the same thing. So please understand, an argument consists of facts and conclusion. The first thing that needs to be taken into consideration is that consider this argument as a true for yourself. You will not bring a bit of information from your end, ki Rahul, I have read, which is something very much opposite to this. It doesn't matter at all. In this argument, if it is written that sun rises in the west, sun rises in west, you have to ensure that for this particular argument, sun rises in the west. You will not bring up your own knowledge and say sun rises in the east. Be 1000% sure that critical reasoning argument will never be something which is wrongly interpreted in the general life. It is 100% so. Critical reasoning and reading comprehensions are the two sections in GMAT which would give you a whole lot of a learning. It will bring up a interest of reading some stuffs and all. So any argument that is presented, that is given to you, when you go ahead and actually put this argument into the Google, you will say a complete article regarding this argument, which has been already discussed sometime. So all the arguments are true, but the gist of the critical reasoning is that consider this argument as to be 100% true. You are not supposed to challenge it at all. Absolutely no way. However much good you are, it doesn't matter at all. So when I say, Rahul, when I say everyone can vote, everyone can. So there was an argument I have made. Everyone above 18 years can vote. Everyone above 18 years can vote. So Rahul can vote. Simple logic. So if this is an argument given to you, what does argument consist of? It consists of facts and conclusion. What is a fact? Everyone above 18 years can vote. So this is a fact. And what is a conclusion? So Rahul can vote. This is a conclusion. An argument 100% consists of facts and conclusion. 100%. There is an absolutely no ambiguity. Any CR argument you are trying to read, your first job is to find what is the conclusion. In any type of a CR argument you are reading, your first job is to find what is the conclusion. Without getting this, your job is absolutely not to move into the question at all. Please try, wait there, read it again. It never matters that last line would be the conclusion. A lot of time it happens that first line could also be the conclusion. It's very much evident. The first line in the argument can be a conclusion, and rest all the statements in the argument will be supporting the conclusion. So always remember, premise leads to conclusion, means fact leads to conclusion. If at all you are confused, you just have to read. Do you think so Rahul can vote and therefore everyone above 18 years can vote? Is this making any sense? No. So you have to do a lot of interpretation in your head to understand what the conclusion is. When I say everyone above 18 years can vote, so Rahul can vote. So this is an argument. Argument means there is a fact and there is a conclusion. So with the understanding that every CR argument is considered to be true, what is the assumptions that I can derive from here? That Rahul is above 18 years. Imagine when I say you that, let's say Shwati is a good girl. Good girl. And that's the reason she has got into. And she would get into Harvard. Simple logic, let's say. Simple stuff. She would get in Harvard. Now, for your kind information, please understand this is an argument that is written to you in CR. This is an argument that has been given to you. So you are not supposed to assume anything that how can this argument looks very vague to me, Rahul. Nothing looks vague to you. Be very sure about it. Whatever argument is given should be considered true. So when I say Swati is a good girl and she would get into Harvard, simple logic, what is an assumptions that I can make from here?
Only good girls who get into Harvard.
Yes.
To get into Harvard, you have to be a good girl.
Absolutely. Like good girl is a criteria for you to get into Harvard. Or let me make a very small assumptions. All good girls get into Harvard. Girls gets in Harvard. In a very vague way, I can write this, or I can say that being a good girl is a criteria for you to get into Harvard. Now, when I read this, Swati is a good girl. And now when I say all good girls get into Harvard and she would get into Harvard, now tell me, now this is an absolutely 100% true argument. It looks also to be very true. So assumptions are something which is taken by default, guys. And please understand, this is the backbone of an argument. Backbone of argument. It is never stated in the argument at all. Assumptions are backbone of an argument. It means what? Assumptions are something which always and always supports conclusion. Always and always support. There should be absolutely no doubt about it. You should not doubt it at all that assumptions are something which always and always supports the conclusion. So, but the point comes that how do we solve assumptions question? How do we solve assumptions question? And please be 1000% sure. I'll clear all your doubts. Whatever doubt you have, you ask me. There's absolutely no ambiguity at all. But this is the only method that you should be following. The entire world follows this method. This is not a method which is limited to me. Entire world, if they are solving assumptions questions, follows only this method. And this is the only method which can guarantee you accuracy in the question. Nothing else at all. So step number 1, as I have told you in any argument you read, the step number 1 remains same. Identify conclusion. Step number 2 is negate the answer choices. I'll explain you in a very detailed way what exactly I mean by this. Negate answer choices. And step number 3 says, whichever negated choices weakens the conclusion. Whichever negated choice weakens the conclusion. This should be your answer. Now the point is, a lot of people start arguing with me, Rahul, right now you have explained us that assumptions are something which always and always supports the conclusion. Why I should not choose the answer that directly supports the conclusion? There could be a very valid question from your end, that why I should not choose the answer. Should not choose the answer that supports conclusion, right? Agreed or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Because it's a straightforward. Right now, I've just given you a simple thought process about assumptions. Is that assumptions are something which always and always supports conclusion. Now, the next question that can come here is, now you are trying to tell me identify conclusion. You are trying to tell me negate answer choices. You don't know what is negative choices. I'll explain it to you. And now you are trying to say me whichever negative choices weakens the conclusion. Why should I even think about weakening the conclusion? That's a simple logic which you will feel reading to what I have explained you right now. But please ensure, do not do this at all. Why I should not choose an answer that supports the conclusion? You should never ever do this. Why you should not do this? I'll simply give you a example. Imagine Rahul is a good guy and he would get into Harvard. Please discuss, guys. Until you don't discuss, it will not be. There's no sort of a logic. There's no sort of a mathematical concept that I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to teach you because all of you have a very different thought process, but you have to ensure that your thought process syncs to what the exam is required. And please ensure that you speak. Till you don't speak, I'll be helpless. Rahul is a good guy. He would get into Harvard.
Rahul, a question here. So in the previous statement also you said good girl or a good guy. So how do you define this good as the question? Do we go with the actual meaning of the word, or does good mean let's say Rahul is meeting all the criteria that is required for
nothing. You are not supposed to go through anything. Whatever is stated here, that's all. You don't know Rahul is meeting all the criteria. You don't know Rahul is a university topper. You don't know Rahul is a gold medalist. Nothing at all. This is a simple
again, this good is a broad term, right? On what sense
you
is
are not what?
Tell
me once again.
So good is a very broad term, right? What is good? How do you define good even in this context?
No, the point is that you are not supposed to define it. It's simple written. This is just a sort of this adjective ki Rahul is a good guy. That's it. And he would get into Harvard. So default assumptions is that all good guys gets into Harvard. It is not for us to try and figure out what the definition of good is. Absolutely no. Because that's a place you are bringing your own thought process. So imagine this is our argument that I have written. Rahul is a good guy and he would get into Harvard. Now I'm giving you first option. Choice A, the assumption choice is that all good guys gets into Harvard. Gets in Harvard. Second choice, Rahul is a university topper. Third is Rahul is gold medalist. And fourth is, let's say, Rahul is a math Olympiad topper, and there will be 5 options. But now when I have written this argument, Rahul is a good guy and he would get into Harvard. Now these are the options that are presented front of you. What is the answer? So our first job is what? To identify conclusion. What is the conclusion? That he would get into Harvard. My first job in assumptions is to identify conclusion. When we are solving any CR argument, the conclusion here is that he would get into Harvard. This is my conclusion. Simple, straightforward logic. Agreed? Now the second step says all good guys gets in Harvard. My second step is what? Negate the answer. What do you mean by negate the answer choices? What exactly this means?
Basically removing choices that we don't need.
Negate the answer choices means simple. You have to insert a not or remove a not from a statement and the entire meaning of the sentence reverses. So when I say Rahul is a good guy, if I try to negate this statement, what would be the negation of this? The negation of this could be Rahul is not a good guy. The negation can never be Rahul is a bad guy. That's crap. When you say Rahul is not a good guy, it means the meaning can also be he is the most brilliant guy you have ever met in the life. And the meaning could also be he is the most dumbest guy that you ever met in your life. So negation doesn't mean that Rahul is a good guy. You negate it saying that Rahul is a bad guy. No, that's crap. Negation simple means insert a not and remove a not from a statement where the entire meaning of the sentence reverses. So when I say all good guys does not get into Harvard, now I'm negating this. When I negate this, am I trying to challenge my conclusion? Yes or no?
Yes.
Conclusion is what? He would get into Harvard. Now, when I negate this, ki all good guys does not get into Harvard, obviously there is a thought process that comes at how he would get into Harvard, right? So our job is 100% done over here. We have followed all the 3 steps. We have our step number 1 was to find the conclusion. Simple logic. Step number 1 was to get the conclusion right. We have got the conclusion right. Step number 2 was negate the answer choices. So when I negate this statement that all good guys does not get into Harvard, it is straight away trying to challenge my conclusion, yes or no?
Yes.
Agreed. Now the point is, so this is my straightaway answer. The point I have told you why you should not choose an answer that supports the conclusion, because there are a lot of third-party information given to you where you would feel that it is trying to strengthen the conclusion, but it has got no connection with that at all. So imagine Rahul is a university topper. If you at all start thinking about the definition of good, Sajid, right? If at all you try to think, start thinking about definition of good, then according to you, option number 2 should be right. Option number 3 should also be right. Agreed? Sajid?
Rahul, I missed you there, Rahul. I had an internet. So statement 2 and 3, I missed it, please. Can you please complete?
No, I'm telling you, Sajid, that if at all you get into the thought process, that what is the definition of good, don't you feel you will end up marking answer 2 and 3 also?
Yes, Align.
The point is, let's negate this statement. Please understand, these are all the third-party information. It might look very convincing to you, but please understand, this is an out of scope of an argument. Whatever is not stated in the argument, you are not supposed to assume anything regarding that. So when I say Rahul is not a university topper, I'm trying to negate statement number 2. Do you really feel by any chance it is trying to weaken my conclusion? Anyone, please speak it up. When I say Rahul is not a university topper, all I say Rahul is not a gold medalist. Do you really think it is trying to hamper my conclusion in any way?
No, because it's not related. We should not assume anything.
Absolutely, because you don't have to be a university topper to get into Harvard. Absolutely no. Logic also says this. You don't have to be a gold medalist to get into Harvard. Logic also says this. But here the point is it is completely out of scope of an argument. My argument simple says Rahul is a good guy and he would get into Harvard. So these are the answers which is beyond the scope of an argument. And that's the reason it is said that please ensure, I think I'm making some sense to you at this place, that when I said you why you can 100% ask me a question that Rahul, why I should not choose an answer that directly supports a conclusion, when you have made me very clear that assumptions are something which always supports conclusion. So this is a very valid question from your end, that why I should not choose an answer that supports a conclusion. Now, if you choose an answer that supports a conclusion directly, then these are the places where you will be trapped. You might end up marking the answer which is very much beyond the scope of an argument, where you may feel that it is trying to 100% support the conclusion, but this will be absolutely wrong. So be very CR. It's a lot of critical thinking is required over here. Please tell me.
Rahul, one question from my side, like if there would have been an option like all bad guys don't get into Harvard.
No, that's also wrong. Because the argument does not talk about bad guy plus. So anything about bad guys, move on.
Yeah.
Just because all good guys gets into Harvard doesn't mean ki all bad guys does not get into Harvard. That's a very wrong assumption. Because again, if you get into this stuff, then again definition of good and definition of bad will come into picture, right? That after all, what thing you are saying someone to be bad, or after thinking what you are saying someone to be good. Agreed. So we are not supposed to go out of the scope of an argument, and this will be very brilliantly understood with the examples that we do over here. Absolutely, it will be very clear. Yes,
I have
please.
one question before that. So in the previous example, everyone above 18 years can vote, so Rahul can vote. That was the example, right?
Right.
So we assume that Rahul is above 18, but we can also assume that everyone below 18 years can vote, cannot vote. Can we assume that, or just like this example, all good guys, all bad guys, we
Please
shouldn't
understand.
assume?
Please understand. That's the reason I have told you difference between inference and assumptions. So when you say everyone above 18 years can vote, the inference, what you can infer from the statement ki below 18 years they can't vote. That is not an assumption. That is your understanding by reading the statement. Please understand that.
Okay.
Your assumption should 100% relate to the facts and conclusions stated over there. Now this will be very clear with the actual question that we do. Now, can you please take 4 to 5 minutes of time? Take 3 minutes of time. I have told you all of you to read the argument and come. And I'll be reading almost 5-6 argument front of you for sure to show you exactly how it should be done. But don't expect me to read every argument. Be very sure. So can we do question number 1, please? Can you please take 2 minutes and read the entire argument, and whatever answer you have marked, keep it at your place. Just take 2 minutes. Read this and then we'll have a discussion on the question. It will be very clear from the question itself. And please mark up your answer and then we go into the discussion. So what's your answer? Please mark up your answer, whatever answer you can mark it up. Doesn't matter at all, and please speak, guys. Don't be silent. Mark your answer, write your answers.
Give me 1 minute, Rahul.
Sure.
Just a minute.
I'm taking a bit tricky questions in front of you because if I do easy questions, it will be all crap. So I'm trying to take as tricky questions as it can come in the exam. By the way, all of you have marked wrong answer. Can you please have a look into it? There's one answer right. So please come here. Let's look over here. Now I'm trying to read this argument. So when I say this, that country B wild production is not sufficient to meet its current demand. Perfect. So when I say country B wild production is not sufficient to meet its current demand, what can you infer? Now please understand. When you read something, there should be some sort of inference drawn from you. Infer simple means your understanding. There is a difference between assumptions and inference. Time and again, I'm telling you, and I'll keep telling you wherever I can. So when I say country B oil production is not sufficient to meet the current demand, what can you infer from this statement?
That the demand for oil in country B is high.
The demand is not sufficient, right?
Yeah.
It means country B will have to import the oil. Agreed? So guys, please ensure one thing. So this is a place where I can't force you and all, because everyone of you have your own reading habits, your studying habits, whatever it is. But one normal thing that I can tell you, one normal thing that I can tell you that you should inculcate, if at all you have time, at least for next 30 assumptions questions, ensure that you keep writing. Do not simply read and do not simply mark the answer. Writing solves. And whenever you ask me doubts for the CR, please be one thing, incorporate one thing for sure. I promise you will have no issues at all. And half of the time your doubts will be cleared by itself. Whenever you ask me doubts for CR, ensure that you ask me doubt for CR in the mail. Just email it to me and WhatsApp me, ki Rahul, this is the doubts I've mentioned you. So when you ask a doubt to me in CR, ensure that you write everything. That Rahul, according to me, this was the fact. According to me, this was the conclusion. And why have you choose this on? Like, I'm not trying to understand. But write everything in the mail. This writing habit will make things very clear. I'm telling you, we don't write it, but trust me, writing helped me a lot, to be very frank. So in first 30 assumptions, I'm not asking you to write everyone, because in exam you will have no time to write it at all. But just to get the concept very properly as to what we are doing, writing will help you a lot. So when I read the first statement that country B oil production is not sufficient to meet the current demand, the inference that I can draw from here that, yeah, if it is not sufficient to meet the current demand, what it has to do? It will have to import the oil. Look into the Pakistan today's look into the condition of Pakistan and Sri Lanka. There is no oil in the country. They don't have money to import the oil. Imagine how high the inflation can go. So a normal, with a day-to-day understanding, we can draw inference that it will have to import the oil. And don't you feel country B oil production is? Please understand word call is, are, has, have. This will all keep coming. I don't want to explain you everything right now before you start. I want that all these things should come with respect to time, or else it will be extremely heavy thing for you. So whenever you say is, are, and all, these are usually a fact. So when I say country B oil production is not sufficient to meet a current demand, can I say what I have read is a fact? Yes or no? 100%?
Yes,
and the
sir.
inference that I can draw from here is, that they will have to import the oil. Now see here what they are writing. In order to sharply reduce the dependence on foreign source of oil, it means what? After reading this statement till the comma, and wherever you have comma, wherever you have a full stop, please have a habit of stopping over there. Don't read it in one shot, or else it's all gone. Ensure that if you confront with a comma, if you confront with a full stop, stop. Full stop means statement completely changes. So imagine if I say a sentence, Rahul is a good guy and Ritu is a good girl. Is this a right sentence or a wrong sentence? Rahul is a good guy and Ritu is a good girl. Is this a right or a wrong sentence? Anyone, please tell. Tell.
Correct, right?
No. Why it is incorrect?
Because when you're combining with and, it should be same. Probably a girl and girl can be combined together, a boy and boy.
Absolutely not a girl and a girl and a boy and a boy. That's
Same
also
person.
if imagine I say that Shwati is a good girl and Ritu is a beautiful girl. So this is also wrong. You have to
We should be talking about the same thing, not the same person.
Absolutely. So when you have comma, when you have and, ensure that you are talking only about one subject. You cannot say Rahul is a good girl and Ritu is a good Rahul is a good guy and Ritu is a good girl. You have to put a full stop over there. And that's the reason it is said that whenever you come front of comma, stop. Whenever you come front of full stop, comma, stop. Don't read in one same flow. Always remember and or but. You can say Rahul is a good guy, but he is extremely lethargic. Now this is absolutely fine. Okay, Rahul is a good guy, but he is lethargic, so he goes back to Rahul. But you can't say Rahul is a good guy, but Shwati is very lethargic. This is crap. You are using but, it means the sentence should only talk about Rahul. So in one sentence, you can talk only about one subject. Ensure that two subjects you can't bring. You cannot at all say like this. So these are the reading stuff that I'm telling you. So see here, in order to sharply reduce the dependence of foreign source of oil, miss, now they used to import because there was a insufficient oil in their country. They wanted to import the oil. Now what they are doing? They are trying to reduce the import. I'm just drawing the entire flow of argument. They want to reduce the import. In order to sharply reduce the dependence on foreign source of oil, country B recently embarked on a program requiring all its automobile to run on ethanol in addition to gasoline. So how they are reducing the import? They got, it might be ethanol production in that country is high, and they've got a technique to run the entire vehicles on ethanol. Means they have some sort of a ethanol productions in their country. So they, first of all, how the flow of the argument is that they wanted to import the oil. Now, because of now they wanted to reduce the dependence on the, means they wanted to reduce the import. Now, how they have reduced the import? They have got a ethanol in their country. Now, ethanol is type of a fuel. I think all of us know what Gadkari, in every speech of Gadkari, now in Nitin Gadkari's speech, you listen. He cannot give a speech without ethanol at all, without bringing ethanol. So it might be this country had this resource of fuel, it's called ethanol. And now they are concluding that ethanol plus oil, that is gasoline, is sufficient to meet the current demand. This is what the conclusion is here, see. Combined with its oil production, country B produces enough ethanol from agriculture byproduct to meet its current demand for the energy. Is the flow of an argument understood, or anyone has any problem here? Tell me. They wanted to import the oil because they have insufficient oil in their country. Then after some time, they felt that they want to reduce this import of oil. Why after all they are feeling to want to they are asking that they want to reduce the import of the oil. Why are they doing that? Because they have got a new source of fuel production in their own country called ethanol. And now they say that ethanol production is so much sufficient that ethanol plus oil is sufficient to meet the current demand. Tell me anywhere in this argument, have they discussed about ethanol? Except for saying that ethanol plus oil is sufficient to meet the current demand. So any discussion about ethanol in the answer would be wrong. Be very sure. A lot of you have marked answer E. But see, E says what? Ethanol is sufficient, ethanol is suitable. If you say E as answer, why can't you say C as answer? But please understand one thing very clearly. They, in the question, they have just discussed about ethanol, saying that we produce ethanol, and they say, and they directly come down to the conclusion that ethanol plus gasoline is sufficient to meet the current demand for energy. Am I right? Yes or no? Any problem in understanding of the argument?
Rahul, one question, like, so in the starting they have mentioned that the demand domestic demand is not sufficient to be fulfilled by oil, like,
That's the reason
so
they are
oil cannot is not sufficient to meet its domestic demand. So
yeah, that's
why
the reason
can't
they
we
were.
why
Tell
can't
me.
we take this as a conclusion as itself, like their domestic demand cannot be filled by just oil?
No, this is not a conclusion. This is the fact that they are stating that country B oil production is not sufficient to meet the current demand. This is a factual information. So can you discuss now? Imagine I said you ki imagine Prahas, I said you Prahas, my score in math is not more than 90. Okay. So imagine you have given a GMAT exam and you say me, Rahul, my score is not more than 750. Do you think can I have any sorts of a discussion over here? It's a fact that you are telling me your score might be 740, 730, but that doesn't matter to me at all, whatever your score is. But when you say me, ki, Rahul, my score is not more than 750, do you think any discussion can happen over here? Or it's a true fact that you are stating in front of me?
Fact.
Fact, right? So facts are something, Prahas, where you can't discuss on it. That's 100% true. So when they say that country B oil production is not sufficient, it means it's not sufficient. That's it. It's a very factual thing that there. And the point is in this question, you see, which of the following ensure that all of you have a very good habit of reading the questions very well? Do not simply look into the word assume and this is assumptions questions. No. Now read the question over here, Press. Which of the following must be assumed in order to conclude that country B will succeed in its plan? What was the plan of country B? Do you think plan was that it is not sufficient to meet the current demand?
No, to blend ethanol more.
Reduce the dependence.
To reduce the import.
To reduce the import. The plan
Yeah.
was what? Ki oil plus
Ethanol
plus oil is sufficient to meet the current demand. So this is one question where the conclusion is given to you in the question only. right? All I'm trying to say you in this, that in this place they have introduced the word called ethanol. But they wanted to reduce the import. How they wanted to reduce the import? Because there was a production of ethanol happening in that country, and we don't care about it. Yeah, and they saw that our import has increased a lot, so they wanted to reduce, and they wanted to come to the ethanol fuel. Now they have simply concluded that ethanol plus oil is sufficient to meet the current demand. Am I making sense?
So Rahul, in this case, for example, if we start from the beginning, which is basically you've written importing oil. So that was the first part that you had. Second was reducing the import. Would that be considered as an inference?
No. It's stated in the fact over here. No, inference is something you are understanding by listening, but it is very clearly stated that in order to sharply reduce the dependence on the foreign source of oil. Yeah, this is given to you, so you're not supposed to infer this anything. Agreed? Now let's come down to the.
That's where it's brought that ethanol is being used.
Yeah.
Requiring all of its ethanol in addition to gasoline.
Perfect. Now let's discuss with the question over here.
One question I have, Rahul.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, someone just mentioned blending or something, but here nothing about blending or something is. We cannot infer or assume that there is some blending or not.
No
ethanol and it can run on ethanol or it can run on gasoline. Or it can run. We don't care.
It can run on the ethanol plus. It can run on the blend of ethanol and oil. That's what we as a country are doing. Brazil as a country are doing.
Now that is what we know, but it's not mentioned in the question.
That does not matter to you at all. How does it matter? Let's say if you understand that ethanol as an independent fuel is being used, or ethanol is being blended with the gasoline is being used. The entire point is that because ethanol has come into picture, oil production has reduced or not?
No.
Oil has reduced, right?
Yeah. But
so that doesn't matter at all how it is being used. That is none of your business at all.
No. But if there was an option like that, there is no such option.
Please ensure that you don't even think about such options could have existed over there. It's a very critical. It's a official guide question. So do not ever think that if options could have been this in the answer choice or option could have been this. The simple way of reading a critical reasoning is, guys, keep your thought process completely at the base. And if it's an official guide question, do not ever try and challenge a question. Do not ever try and challenge the option. There are 5 options given to you. And you have marked option number 4, let's say, and they say it is wrong. Now you be CEO of the company, you be CTO of the company, you be the most ferocious reader. If it is wrong, it is wrong. That's it.
I'm not challenging. Just for other questions,
you can't even think of if the options would have been like that. Because whatever you are thinking is a very different league all in all.
No. What I'm thinking is, we cannot assume any blending was there or not. That is what I'm thinking.
Why would you assume that?
No, someone mentioned that. That's why. Yeah.
No, whether it be a blending, it be independent ethanol, it be independent oil, or it be a blend of ethanol and oil. But what is the purpose of ethanol introduction is what? To reduce the import of oil, and that's happening, right? So this is a extra information that you know, no? As an individual, you know that ethanol is blended with the gasoline, right?
Yes.
But there could be a guy who has no idea about how ethanol can be blended, not blended. But the purpose should be received there. The purpose is what? That the gasoline consumption has been reduced. Why? Because ethanol has come into picture. Now, how ethanol is being used with the gasoline, that is none of our business.
Exactly. Okay.
Great.
Rahul, in the previous, just few minutes back when you were explaining the structure, you concluded that we should not take a option which is directly a conclusion of the premise or assumption, right? Because that normally is incorrect. What is that option here?
What? Please tell me again.
Previously, when you were explaining the analogy, right, how to go about solving questions, you said that any option which directly relates to the conclusion of the paragraph should not be taken.
No, when did I say this? No, I didn't understand.
I think what he said was. I think what he said was that if there's any answer that's direct and does not I mean, that has additional details to it is what should not be chosen rather than
No, I
the
was just
ones.
telling this. I was just telling this, Mrinal, that option number C and E says what? Ethanol is suitable for, or ethanol is efficient as gasoline in terms of mileage and all. Let's say.
Yes, C and E are clear. It is just, I mean, off tracking us by giving details on
By
ethanol, which
giving details
the
on ethanol,
statement is not trying to solve for.
because this argument says nothing about ethanol.
Yeah,
Argument
exactly.
just has brought, argument has just introduced ethanol for what purpose? That we are trying to reduce our import of oil, because
Yeah.
that country B might have some sufficient production of ethanol, and they have got a sort of a understanding that we can use ethanol for our purpose of gasoline.
Yeah.
But there is no discussions about ethanol as to what it is suitable for, what it is good for. So can I straight away eliminate option number C and option number E?
Yeah.
Riddhi, is this clear? Who's written?
Yeah, Rahul.
Why can't I assume after reading this? Prahas. Prahas, is this clear? Your doubt?
No, Rahul, like I'm thinking that why can't we assume like apart from oil, only ethanol will be sufficient to meet this, and
No,
only
it's not why. It's not about why are we assuming. This is what the conclusion is there. This is what the argument is. Argument says what? Combined with its oil production. Combined with its oil production. It's what oil production? Ethanol plus oil, right? Read the last line. Combined with its oil production means ethanol they have introduced. Now ethanol plus oil, country B produces enough ethanol from agriculture byproduct to meet its current demand for the energy. So it's not I'm trying to assume, this is what is mentioned to me in the conclusion. Right?
yeah.
Trust?
But for this conclusion to be true, like ethanol should be should be used in the same areas like oil as well, right? So
100%.
ethanol is suitable for heating homes and other applications aside from automobiles. So
Agree,
this
I
should
agree.
be so C should be fulfilled. Why we are eliminating that? Because then
No, and the point is,
because
let's say if you are not let's come down to see in some other way. I understand what you're trying to say. My job was what? To first get the conclusion, right? Agreed. If at all you are confused, follow the process. We have got the conclusion, oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand. Any problem over here?
No.
Step number 2 was what? To negate the answer choices. Now let's say I'm negating. Ethanol is not suitable for heating homes and other applications aside from automobiles. Tell me how it is weakening your conclusion. Because our job is here for us, that once we negate the answer choices, my negated choices should weaken the conclusion. Conclusion says oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand for energy. Demand means all the demand. It might be ethanol is not suitable for homes, and that is one demand that can be fulfilled by gasoline, but rest all the demands will be taken care by ethanol as well. Am I right? Agreed.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Rahul, based on this, not based on this conversation, but now that I'm reading the passage again and again, it kind of for a second it feels as if can't we choose the first line, country B's oil production is not sufficient to meet its domestic demand. Can't that also be a conclusion?
No, man. How can it be a conclusion? Which of the following must be in order to yeah, they have written in this question, they have given you the conclusion over here. Don't do extra thinking. Is, are, has, have, these are all factual words. When I say, that's what I explained you now. That when you tell me ki Rahul, my score in GMAT is not above 750, is this a conclusion or a fact? When you say Rahul, my score in GMAT is not above 750, so it's a fact. I can't debate on it. It says country B oil production is not sufficient. Please understand, is, are, has, have, 90% of the time they are all factual word. All.
Sir, but the bold in bold they have written ki which of the following assumed in order to conclude. So basically, if this statement wasn't there, this bold statement wasn't there, then what would have been the conclusion?
No, Rohan, are you mad? No, absolutely no. Conclusion, there is only one conclusion. Conclusion will not differ from perspective to perspective. Now,
No,
this question they have made you easy. Conclusion would be still this: the oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand. Still, the last line is the conclusion. Don't force yourself. Is, are, has, have. When I say, Rohan, has got 700 in GMAT. That's a fact. Agreed. That's not a conclusion. When you say combined with its oil production, country B produces enough ethanol. Now imagine, like, let's say if you people are confused about facts and conclusion. So what I've told you, premise always leads to conclusion, right? Premise always leads to conclusion, yes or no? Now you first
Yes.
state combined with its oil production, country B produces enough ethanol from agriculture byproduct to meet its current demand for energy, and therefore country B oil production is not sufficient. Is it making any sense?
Right.
Do not overthink, please. Not required.
Rahul,
Absolutely
another
not
quick
required.
question.
Yeah.
I personally have a habit of underlining the critical parts of the paragraph or is there any facility available when we take these exams that we can highlight stuff or maybe underline it? Because I'm not sure with everybody else, but I have this
Absolutely
habit of.
nothing.
Okay.
No, in exam you will have nothing. So all I'm trying, that's the reason I'm trying to say, at least for 30, 40 questions that you are solving of assumptions, or
Yeah.
any CR question, let's say assumptions, evaluate, strengthen, weaken, at least for 20, 30 questions, make a habit of completely noting down this according to you, this is a fact, why it is a fact, for what reason, write it off, so that the entire structure is clear. But
Okay.
ensure when you do a normal practice, there is no sorts of, you will get no chance of highlighting it, underlining it, nothing. You just have to read and mark the answer. But
Okay.
do this once you are well aware of the concept. Now come down to the question here now. Which of the following must be assumed in order to conclude that? Assumed. So A says electric power. Electric power, is it in the discussion of an argument? No. So I can close
No.
my eyes and
Yeah.
remove it. Option number C and D, I have told you. Option number C and E, it's straight away wrong because it is trying to say what ethanol will do. And there is no discussion about ethanol in the passage. The only discussion is ethanol is introduced to reduce the input. That's it. There is no extra discussion about ethanol. If at all, like the way Prahast, you were confused, just simple, ensure that you try to negate it and see whether are you trying to weaken the conclusion or not. Now look into B. In country B, domestic production of ethanol is increasing more quickly than domestic oil production. First of all, please understand, these are very more. I'll tell you how to do CR with the wordings also. But let's give time. We'll not discuss everything at one shot. More, less, these are non-quantifiable words. When I say I have more money than you, let's say you have 100 bucks, 100 rupees. When I say I have more money than you, I can have 200 rupees, I can have 2000, I can have 2 lakhs, I can have 2 CR. In all
Rahul,
the
your
cases,
voice is not coming.
So I'm like, more is non-quantifiable. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, Rahul.
I'm telling you, more is non-quantifiable word. I'll come to all these wordings and all as to with based on wording, how should you eliminate the answers, but not everything in one shot will go easily. So when I say more is non-quantifiable word means what? When I say you have 100 rupees and I'm saying you have more money than you. So that cannot be inferred at all. How can you infer? I may have 200 rupees, I may have 2000 rupees, I may have 2 lakh rupees, I may have 2 CR rupees. And in all the cases, I have more money than you. I may have 101 rupees. This is also I have more money than you. So more and all are non-quantifiable word. I'm just telling you, this is a word that cannot be used to eliminate the answer. But this answer is absolutely bullshit. It says that in country B, domestic production of ethanol is increasing more quickly. Let us negate this statement. In country B, domestic production of ethanol is not increasing more quickly than domestic oil production. Now imagine what they say. Production of ethanol is not increasing more quickly. What do you mean by this? That ethanol production is less than the oil production. So imagine if oil is 100 barrel and this is even 99 barrel, oil is more than ethanol. So I can't quantify that when I say domestic production of ethanol is not increasing more quickly than oil production, or domestic production of ethanol is increasing more quickly than oil production. I can't quantify it. Whether the production of ethanol or oil is less, more, that is none of my business. My business is what? Oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand or not. So I'll say even this is gone. This is absolutely not trying to do anything with my conclusion. But when I come to option number D, it says that, now check here. It says that I'm trying to negate this statement. In country B, gasoline consumption is increasing. There is a not over here. I'm removing this not. Is increasing at substantially. Please ensure this is an extreme word. Please make a note of all these things. Substantially means at a very faster rate. domestic consumption is increasing substantially higher rate than domestic oil and ethanol production. They have used both. So whatever answer they give you, it will be very clear wording wise. Domestic oil plus ethanol production. So imagine at this place, if I say, what is my conclusion? That ethanol plus oil is sufficient to meet the current demand. Now, if I say consumption is increasing at a very higher rate than production, don't you feel it is breaking the argument? Yes or no? Please tell. What is your argument?
Yes, sir.
What is the conclusion? That ethanol plus oil is sufficient to meet the current demand. But option number D says that after I negate option number D, it says that consumption is increasing at a very high rate than production. Am I breaking my conclusion? Yes or no? Prahas?
Correct.
Rinal? Swati, any problem here?
No.
No, Rahul.
Perfect. So see here now, this is the answer. Now please understand. Guys, I'm asking you all these things to do in your practice mode. In the exam, if you come down to option number D, you feel that this is 100% negating the, it is 100% weakening your conclusion. This is fine. Absolutely fine. You can go ahead with the answer. But now when you are practicing it and you have got that option number D is the answer for you, there's a way to check your answer that it is 100% fine or not. Now, what we have read about assumptions, please tell me. That assumptions always and always supports conclusion. Assumptions always supports conclusion. Now, this is a fact over here. So assumptions, what we have read, that it always supports conclusion. Now, considering you have got answer number D, now you don't have to negate it at all. You have negated everything. You have got answer D. I'm just giving you a reason to recheck your answer whether it's right or wrong. So your job is to first read fact, then read the assumptions, and then read the conclusion and see it is making sense or not, because what we have read about assumptions, that it always supports the conclusion. So I'm reading now. See here, in order to sharply reduce the dependence on foreign source of oil, country B recently embarked on a program requiring all its automobile to run on ethanol in addition to gasoline. I've read the fact. And now I'll read assumptions. So I'm reading it again. In order to sharply reduce the dependence on foreign source of oil, country B recently embarked on a program requiring all its automobile to run on gasoline. In country B, gasoline consumption is not increasing at substantially higher rate than domestic oil and ethanol production, and therefore, combined with its oil production, country B produces enough ethanol from agriculture byproduct to meet its current demand for energy. It is completely in a sync or not? Please tell me this.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Is this very clear? So this is the check that needs to be done once you are 100% confirmed that this is your answer. But please, guys, understand these are the things that you can't do it in the exam. You will have so much of time. But while you are practicing for next 50 questions in assumptions, when you are doing, you have to do this check for yourself, because this will confirm that what you are doing is 100% right. Here we are supposed to ensure that you understand the concept of assumptions very well, and then you play around with it. Solve thousands question doesn't matter at all. But before that, ensure that get to understand it very well. Now there is something called pre-thinking. I'll come down to this also, but please don't get into all these things. Absolutely not required, because in tough question, it is practically impossible that you will be able to pre-think. Absolutely bullshit. But I'm just telling you what exactly is pre-thinking. Now, if you want to understand what is pre-thinking, you will have to understand one thing, that this argument is 1000% true. We are not trying to challenge this argument in any way. So pre-thinking is nothing but a sort of way where you assert that conclusion is 100% true, because in assumptions, what happened? Assumptions is a place which always supports the conclusion. What is my conclusion? That combined with its oil production, one sec. The conclusion is, combined with its oil production, country B produces enough ethanol from agriculture byproduct to meet its current demand for energy. So this is my conclusion, right? This conclusion is 100% right. After, please understand, author will assume what to think this, that oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand. Author will 100% assume now that gasoline consumption is not increasing at substantially higher rate. And that's the reason author is concluding, right? The oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand. It means if author is trying to conclude that oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand, what is a default thought process that author might have had? It was only option number D, that gasoline consumption is not increasing at substantially higher rate. And that is the reason I can go ahead and conclude that oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand. This is what is pre-thinking.
But Rahul, this is little tricky, right? Because it can take you to some
that's
other
the whole
conclusion.
point. That's the whole point I'm telling you. Ki first check the answer and again play around with the answer. You check your answer by reading fact, assumptions, conclusion. You also check your answer doing some
Pre-thinking-
sort of a pre-thought process, because pre-thinking is nothing but the answer choice.
Pre-thinking is basically again finding an assumption, right? Finding an assumption based on the choices.
But whatever assumptions you find, it should 100% match to the answer now.
Correct. So after seeing the choices, whichever assumption you think is closest to
But these are the ways to ensure that you understand assumptions as a topic very well. So when I say, I'm just simply trying to say, I'm not trying to teach you pre-thinking and all. I'm trying to say you ki pre-thinking is nothing but the answer choice. But on what basis I'm trying to say you? Because conclusion says what? Oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet current demand. All I'm trying to say you, when author is concluding that oil plus ethanol is sufficient to meet the current demand, after all, what thought process author might have had? Obviously that their consumption is not going to increase the production. Consumptions will be always be more than the production.
Less than the production.
Less than the production. And that's the reason oil plus ethanol is sufficient. This is what is the pre-thought process. That's it. So I'm not trying to teach you pre-thinking. Always ensure that use negation technique to solve all the questions. But first 30, 40 questions, go very slow, understand from all the angles. And once you understand it well, then go and practice as much as you can. That's the normal thought process I have. Anyone, any problem with question number 1, please tell me. I know it's taking time, but it will take time. You have to understand.
Now, I have a very basic question. It's not very relevant to this question, but then I'm a little confused on a statement. So in the second sentence, they've said country B recently embarked on a program requiring all of its automobiles to run on ethanol in addition to gasoline. Okay, so what I want to know is, what do you infer from run on ethanol in addition to gasoline? So are they planning their...
Country B embarked on a program. They started a program.
Correct.
So before only gasoline was used for automobile, like only petrol and diesel.
Correct.
Now they have started introducing ethanol also.
Correct. So the question is, are they planning for a hybrid model where all of their automobiles can
That
run
is
on
none of
both
your
of them?
business. Again, when you get into hybrid model, it means you are trying to bring your own knowledge. I'm trying to say if a guy who doesn't understand anything about petrol, diesel, and ethanol, purpose is what? You have to understand the purpose of this statement. Purpose is to reduce the oil, right? Before 100% automobile was being running on the petrol and diesel, right? Yes,
Correct. Yes.
Now they have brought ethanol. Now ethanol is being blended with gasoline, like petrol and diesel, or ethanol is used being independently. That is none of my business. My business is the purpose of this statement is what? That the production of oil will come down for sure. Not production, the uses of oil will come down for sure.
So in the entire usage, a significant increase in ethanol will happen is what we are trying to infer from here.
Yeah, that's it. We are just simply trying to infer that usage of oil will go down and ethanol will come into picture.
Understood.
Now, how will ethanol be used? That is none of our business at all. That if you are thinking again, you are bringing your own thought process over here.
Understood.
But the purpose of your thought process is same. No, the usage of gasoline will come down.
Correct. It's not very relevant here, then I was not able to understand what they're trying to interpret from this particular.
They are just trying, the purpose of writing this statement is that the usage of gasoline will come down. That petrol and diesel will come down. Ethanol is coming into the picture. How will ethanol being used? That is none of our business.
Got it.
And Rahul, just one more question. Like in terms of the domestic demand over here, they are only trying to just say about the automobiles only. So nothing else we should consider while approaching.
Yeah, and the point is, nowhere it is considered, anything else is considered also. Because when they say combined with its oil per country be produce enough ethanol from agricultural pipe to meet its current demand for the energy. Demand for the energy could be anything.
Okay.
But consider with the automobile only. How does it matter?
Rahul?
Yeah, Jade, please tell me.
Mrinal, so another quick.
Hi, Rahul. While in option B, we negate option B. Yeah, if we negate option B, that also weakens the argument that if ethanol domestic production is not increasing, then how will ethanol and all sufficiently meet the current
that's
demand?
What not increasing means what? That's what I'm telling you now. You have 1 rupees, Jadip. I'm telling you, Jadip, I have more rupees than you. I have more money than you. Now, more money, even if I have 2 rupees, I have more money than you. Even if
Okay.
I have 2 lakh rupees, I have more money than you. Even if I have 2 crore rupees, I have more money than you. So this is a non-quantifiable word. That's what I'm telling you. Let's say the oil production is 1,000 units, and the gasoline production is 999 units. Despite that, it is not more than oil production. But obviously, it may happen, right? So you can't quantify. Just it is just the
Essentially higher
limits.
that is exponential term. That is the main point, right?
Yeah, but the point is
In
that you can't
option.
quantify. When I say I have more money than you, Jadip, I can have any amount of money. You might have 100 rupees, I have 101 rupees, I have more money than you.
Okay.
But I may have 1 lakh rupees, I have more money than you. So the word it's a non-quantifiable word. You can't quantify it. And because you can't quantify it, so there could be any probability. I may have 101 rupees, I have more money than you. I may have 1 CR, 1 crore, I have more money than you. But this is a probability. Again, this gets into the things where you're trying to assume by yourself and marking down the answer. So such answers are always wrong.
Okay.
Should we come to question number 2, please? Let's discuss little because a lot of things will be clear. I have to. So in this question, I didn't tell you that this is a statement which is trying to challenge the fact. All these things will come. Let's come down to question number 2, please. Anyone has any questions over here? Minal, you had any questions in the last one?
No, I think the only conclusion I could arrive at is that we should not infer knowledge from external world and try to connect it to any fact which is there in the paragraph, because I think options C and E were the ones which were unnecessary elaborations of
100%.
fact given.
100%.
Okay.
And just ensure that think argument to be very true. Stick to the scope of an argument. Do not go out of scope. Now, this is a answer. This is a question where if you can ask me and you can drag me very badly in this question. A lot of people say, Rahul, answer is completely out of scope. But it is not out of scope. We'll do this. Right, take 2 minutes. Is this clear? The first one, please tell me. Anyone has any problem in the first question?
No, Rahul.
Shohrit, any problem? Stray,
No, Rahul.
please go ahead with question number 2. Guys, let's speed it up a bit. See, one question takes so much of time in CR, but it's good thing. You please discuss. Keep me very open. Fast now. Take 2 minutes. Read and mark your answer. I hope all of you have done. From next class, please ensure at least do the questions before you come to the class so that we focus completely on discussion rather than reading the question. Mark your answer. Should we start? So see here, I'm starting to read the argument. I'll read 5-6 argument. So it says that although there has been a great scientific debate EOC. Okay. Let's look into this. It says, although there has been a great scientific debate, there has been a great scientific debate for a decades over global warming. Okay, comma. Most scientists now agree that, so please see here. It says, although there has been a great scientific debate for a decade over global warming, most scientists now agree that human activity is causing the Earth temperature to rise. Human activity is causing. So do not assume anything. This is a fact. Normal.
This is a fact, right?
Absolutely fact. So don't absolutely even in one, there should not be even an iota of thought that this is a conclusion. Please understand. So it says, although there has been a great scientific debate over global warming, so please understand this is a dependent clause. Although there has been a great scientific debate for a decades over global warming, this is a dependent clause. This clause has got no meaning without the second clause. This clause has got absolutely no meaning without the second clause. So do not go mad over here because this is a dependent clause. Imagine if I simply read and I remove this clause, do you really think this has got any meaning? Although there has been a great scientific debate for decades over global warming. What do you mean by this? So to complete this clause, second clause is given. And when you have concluded that second clause is a fact, there should be no doubt that what is first clause. This is nothing but a part of a fact. Simple logic. Simple state. It's all about how you read the sentence, guys. Be very sure about it. And whenever you have comma, whenever you have full stop, please stop. If you go in one flow, it's all over. So most scientists now agree that human activity is causing the Earth temperature to rise. Now it says, though predictions vary, many global warming experts believe that average global temperature will rise between 3 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit during the next century. Now they say such an increase would cause, please understand, 90% of the time conclusions are would, could, should. Will is certainty. When I say I will come tomorrow, it means there's a certain element, because end of the day, there is no certainty in the future. When you say I will come tomorrow, I can make a sentence. The meaning of this sentence is ki 90% I will come tomorrow to your place and meet you. But when I say I would come tomorrow, then I don't know. There is a 40% probability. I may come, I may not come. So future by default means that it's a very uncertain thing. You can't predict about future anything. So such increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people by destroying major population center along the world coastal city. Is it 1000% clear that this is a conclusion or not? The last line. Anyone has a doubt over here, please tell me, and then we'll go and discuss. Any doubt in what is this, that if this is a conclusion or not? Prahas, is this clear? Brinal?
Yes, Rahul. Conclusion is clear.
Now we go ahead to which of the following is an assumptions in the support of argument's conclusion. Let's understand this. Let's come down to option number A letter. Individual will not become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. My first job is to what? I have identified conclusion. My second job is to negate the answer choices. And please understand, in 2 statements, you will never have to negate at all. You can straight away mark it out. 3 statements you will have to negate. But the point is that when you're doing assumptions question, it should be in your conscience that you read the statement only by negating. So let's say I'm negating option number B. Individual will become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. Who has got answer B? Individual will become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases.
I took it previously, but then it is not tying back to the conclusion, Rahul. So
absolutely no. And the point is, tell me, aren't you aware right now that global warming is going on? Are you aware right now that global warming is going on, right? You being aware about the global warming and you taking steps to reduce the global warming, don't you feel these are 2 completely different actions? Yeah. What actions you are taking to reduce? Now, don't tell me, Rahul, I don't use plastic. Please. Just by you not using plastic, global warming is not going to come down. So it's a very normal thing. You being aware about global warming, you taking steps about global warming are 2 different actions completely. Like imagine you didn't get into so details about it. My simple job is to negate the answer choices. That individual will become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. Tell me how it is weakening my conclusion. Such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people by destroying major population center. In what way? If at all you give me any thought process of yours, doesn't matter, let it be right or wrong. But one who has marked B, after what thinking, what have you marked B? Because if you negate option number B, it should weaken my conclusion. Just give me one reason how it is weakening the conclusion.
Can I say, Rahul?
Yeah, please, why not?
Yeah, so for selecting B, actually, I considered the other options like A, C, D, and E.
No,
So can
that's
I?
fine. That you can do only in inference, not here, please. Inference question you can 100% mark why answers are wrong. But
Okay.
we'll discuss all the options, and so it'll all those things will be taken care of. But tell me, what is there was there any reasoning of you marking B, or you just negated all the answer, or you just
I
disqualified all the
negated.
answer?
I disqualified actually this
Perfect.
time.
But according to me, B is not trying to weaken conclusion in any way, because conclusion says such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people. We can discuss about B later also after discussing all the things. I see a lot of people marking answer C also. The rising sea level similarly affect all the
Similarly.
coastal
Just one
populations.
question to the previous one. The greenhouse gases, well, that is an additional information, right? So
Right.
by
But
default,
greenhouse gases to some extent comes up with the global warming only. So it's a part of global warming. How global warming is happening with
we
greenhouse
are again
gases.
assuming and bringing an additional information, right?
You don't have to bring additional information, but here this is not completely additional information, just for the reason because global warming is being discussed, right? First, Sajid.
Okay.
And greenhouse gases is a part of a global warming. So you can't just disqualify this answer saying that it is a greenhouse gases out of a scope answer. It is not discussed.
Yeah, we are not too far off from the
Yeah, because
my reason for elimination was this, probably from this above passage.
You should not do that. You should not do that just because of a reason, Rajat, because in question they are discussing global warming, right? And
Correct.
greenhouse gases is very much a part of a global warming, extremely. But a global warming and a greenhouse gases are not two separate things. They're exactly the same thing. Because entire warming, the cause of a global warming is greenhouse gases. So you cannot disqualify the answer saying that it's a third element, so let me remove it. No. Okay.
Yes.
Tell me why is C wrong? The rising sail, I'm not saying wrong or right. I'm saying that a lot of you have marked C as the answer. So let's say I'm negating this. Rising sea level does not similarly affect all the coastal population center. Why have you marked option number C? Because once you negate this, my conclusion should weaken. Such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people by destroying major population center. How is it weak?
It basically says that the impact will be similar across the world's coastline with irrespective of let's say doing some sort of bifurcation or something. It just says that this is a fact and it will happen across all the world coastlines and impacting the major population. So I think it is assuming that it will be similar across.
That's fine. But I'm telling you, this can be only in the answer choice, Mrinal. If I negate this, it should weaken my conclusion. Only then I can take this as answer, right?
Yes.
I'm telling that I'm negated. It does not similarly affect all the coastal population center. I'm just asking you, how is this statement weakening the conclusion? Shwati, Divya, please speak it up. So imagine, let's say this is Mumbai, which is 2 meters above the sea level. And you don't have to understand all these things. I'm just for understanding purpose I'm doing you. This is South Africa. Now you don't bring ki Rahul, how can I think in this way? You can aram se think. Let's say this is South Africa, which is 1.7 meter above the sea level. Let's say this is New York, which is 2.2 meter above the sea level. So the land, the way lands are, the way the world lands are divided, it is just 0.12 meter above the sea level all. It's not that New York can be 5 meter above the sea level and Mumbai is 2 meter above the sea level. This is impossible. Point wise, it can differ. Now imagine the sea level has rose to 2.1 meter. So entire Mumbai is gone. Bit of New York is gone. Now, whether it is similarly affecting all the coastal population center or it is just similarly affecting all the coastal population center, but it is still impacting, right? Still people are being displaced or not?
Yeah.
So what is my conclusion? That peoples are being displaced. That displacing millions of people by destroying major population centers. So whether it is similarly affecting or not similarly affecting, that doesn't matter. Still people are being displaced. So I'm not able to weaken my conclusion at all. So this is wrong. It's pretty simple. You just have to believe in what you're doing. It might look very familiar to you. Okay, this could be the answer, but that never means what looks familiar may not be answer at all. Am I any problem over here? Option number D, I can straight away reject because it is trying to challenge the fact. I don't have to challenge the fact. It says what? Some of the global warming experts predict greater than 8 degree Fahrenheit. And what it says? Many global warming experts believe that average global
3 to 8.
temperature will rise between 3 to 8 degree Fahrenheit. I have told you right in the first class, any answer choice that challenges the fact is 100% wrong.
But Rahul, I have a question here. So
Please
there's
tell
a phrase just before the statement which says, though predictions vary.
Huh.
So,
But again, this is a dependent clause, Shwati. Though predictions vary, this is very much dependent clause.
okay.
This clause is not complete without the next clause where it says many global warming experts believe that average global temperature will rise between 3 to 8 degree Fahrenheit. Now the point is that even if you feel in a way, Shwati, where it is not trying to challenge the fact, but still it has got no relevant with our answer choices. Check here. Some global warming experts believe that average temperature will rise above 8 degree. How does it matter? And if I say it will not rise above 8 degree, but they have already very clearly written to you in the statement, in the fact that it will rise between 3 to 8 degree, right?
Right.
Even if I negate statement number D, Shwati, option number D, what would I get? That some global warming experts predict that it will not rise above 8 degree. This is what I can predict, right?
Right. But even if it's increasing
Even
between
if it
3
is
to
not
8,
increasing above 8 degree, it is between 3 to 8 degree increasing it.
Got it.
So I can say this is nothing but a repetition of a fact. But to my understanding, it is trying to challenge the fact. You should not choose any answer which goes beyond the factual information. Facts which is stated should be respected. So this is wrong. And option number E is wrong, guys, just for the reason because it is restatement of the fact. Assumptions are not restatement of the facts. Assumptions are a hidden facts. Simple logic. The option number E is trying to directly challenge the definition of assumptions. Human activity is
Can we also reject this on the basis of that being a very extreme statement?
No, it is given to you over here. It's not extreme statement that human activity is causing the Earth's temperature to rise.
Here
Extreme
it's
statements
given
and
the
all will
sole
not matter
purpose.
into extreme
No, I
statement.
meant okay.
Extreme statement and all science should never come in CR. In CR, there is nothing called extreme statement and non-extreme statement. These are the language of RC.
Okay.
Not in CR at all. Except for inference, you can do all these things, but without inference, you should never think about extreme statement, non-extreme statement, politically incorrect language, non-political language. This should not be thought at all in CR. Shayan, please.
Okay.
Rahul, for the elimination of the E option, I have
It
what
is nothing.
statement
It is a
taken.
restatement of the fact. Simple. You tell me what you have done.
Means most scientists now agree, means most, not all scientists. And over here is they have mentioned the sole reason of, means human
It
activity
is
is the sole.
given to you or not. Human activity is causing Earth's temperature to rise. They have
But
interpreted this in a different language, that human activity is a sole cause. So this is a restatement of fact. It is wrong. It is not an assumption. Something that is mentioned to you in the argument will never be an assumption for sure.
Okay.
That's it. You don't have to think a lot about elimination of this. Now we come down to option number A. Now, a lot of people tell me, ki, Rahul, A is beyond the scope of an argument. But before I get into the discussion, let's understand how is this the answer choice. But who feels that it is out of scope? Well, a lot of people tell me, Rahul, new technological development, technological is not mentioned in the argument. Right? But what is technological here? Think. That's the reason I say that. That's the reason I've told all of you that read at least question number 1, question number 20 of sentence correction video that I've shared with all of you. That this was the only reason. That's it. Because in sentence correction, guys, see, again, I'm no one, because sentence correction is not a part of GMAT exam. So I'm no one supposed to tell you you should read it. But if you understand the structure of sentence, because until you don't understand the sentence meaning or the structure of a sentence, it becomes a bit tough for sure. But if at all you have time, please read question number 1. I have given you 3 videos of sentence correction. All you have to do is that just watch the video from 1 to 20. You will be extremely clear with the structure of a statement. What is technological here? Imagine I remove the technological over here. Now you read the sentence. That's good. But development, that's a very again diplomatic answer. You have to tell me what is technological over here. If I remove technological and read the statement, it is making a complete sense or not? Please tell me.
Yeah, but like technological was modifying the developments.
Absolutely. So it's an adjective. So if you go mad about technological, I've removed technological. Now you read the sentence, it is making sense to you or not? So technological as a word is given to confuse you. It is given to betray you. There is nothing called technological. You remove technological and read the statement. It is making an absolutely perfect sense. New developments in the next century. It is making a perfect sense. Absolutely. There is no wrong in the sentence at all if I write the sentence. So technological word has been inserted to confuse you so that you understand it is out of scope. But this is not out of scope. Technological has got no meaning here at all. The actual sentence is new development in the next century will divert. So see here, I'll come down to this again, but look into the answer properly. Imagine, what is my conclusion? Such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people by destroying major population center along the world coastal cities. The question is, which of the following is an assumption in the support of an argument conclusion? Imagine I read statement number 1. New developments in the next century will divert. I'm negating it. Rising seas from the world coastal city. If we divert rising sea from the world coastal city, don't you feel that you don't, again, the people will not be displaced? Simple logic. What is your conclusion saying? That such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people. Now, when I say new development in the next century will divert the rising sea, if it diverts the rising sea, then do you really feel that you need to be displaced? No. Imagine now Mumbai. The sea is not rising. If it is not engulfing Mumbai, then why you need to go out from Mumbai? Be there, you are safe. Agreed. So technological as a word is written to deceive you. That's it. It is an adjective. It has got no role in the conclusion. It has got no role in the statement. The statement exactly is new development. So developments is a noun over here. Technological is an adjective referring to developed noun. So technological as a word has got no meaning in this sentence. And that's how they deceive you. So it's all about if you understand the structure. So there's one thing, when you read the sentence, you should understand what is modifier, what is adjective, and that's it. This is how they'll deceive you in CR as well, in RC as well. Now you check, imagine if we have got A as an answer. Now my simple check is what? To check the answer. I'll explain you in all the 3 ways. One sec. My simple check is read the fact first, then read the assumptions, and then read the conclusion and see it is making sense to you or not. Considering now you have marked A as an answer. Now I'm not asking you to negate it and all. Now I'm trying to show you that assumptions by default always and always supports conclusion, but these are the things that should be only done when you have marked your answer. And when you are marking your answer, you have to follow those 3 steps for sure. There should be no ambiguity over there. It might look a bit tough to you at this moment of time, but going ahead, things will be pretty much fine for you. So see here, though predictions vary, many global warming experts believe that average global temperature will rise between 3 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit during the next century. Now, new developments or new technological developments in the next century will not divert rising sea from the world coastal city. And therefore, such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people. Now, if you want to match word by word, it can be matched word by word. See here. When I say, though predictions vary, many global warming experts believe that average global temperature will rise between 3 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit during the next century. Now, new developments in the next century will not divert rising sea from the world coastal city. And therefore, such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level, displacing millions of people by destroying major population center. Am I making 100% sense? Yes or no? Agreed?
Yes.
Prahas, Brinal, any doubt?
Yes, Rahul, just one thing. Yeah, it is making sense, but just one confusion came. Like in the option B, like if we take as individuals, will become more aware of the steps to reduce the emissions. So doesn't it means that the global warming will reduce, and if global warming will reduce, then
I've just told you that more is a non-quantifiable word. More aware of the steps means how much aware of the steps? Can you quantify it? When I say you Prahas, that I'm more big reader than you, or I have more knowledge of quant than you. How can it be quantified? Is there any quantifiable term? How can you quantify it properly? When I say I have more knowledge than you, or I have more money than you. You might have 1 rupees, I have 2 rupees, I have more money than you. But I might have 2 crores rupees, I have more money than you. The point is, the individual will become more aware of the steps. How much more aware of the steps? Think about it. Or not more aware of the steps. How many not more aware of the steps? So more, less, these are all non-quantifiable word. 99%,
So
it will be
like
wrong.
when more less comes, like you just like cancel it because
You
it's
cannot
not
simply negate it. It might happen sometime. It might happen sometime, Riddhi, that arguments are also given in terms of, but I would say 99% it's wrong. I don't want to say you anything right now because there might be an answer where more is right, but that completely depend on the context of an argument. And this argument, yes, but the point is, even if that's the case, Prahas, how it is weakening the argument, how it is weakening the conclusion, explain me that, no?
Yes,
Then again, we'll
Rahul.
discuss it.
What I was thinking is like if individuals will become more aware of the steps, so it will reduce the greenhouse. It reduce the greenhouse emissions. Then the global temperature will not rise to that much extent.
I
So the
agree, I
rising
agree,
sea
I
level.
agree, I agree what you're thinking. But don't you feel you are assuming a lot over here that just by individual will become more aware of these steps, the global warming will start reducing? Don't you feel there is a humongous assumptions that you are doing over here?
Because Rahul, like in this between fact and conclusion, if I am placing this like the though predictions vary, like the first is now making sense considering the words, but it is the second option also links like individuals will not become mere.
Imagine. I'm just reading now. Though predictions vary, many global warming experts believe that average global temperature will rise between 3 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit during the next century. Individual will not become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases, and that's why such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level. No. How can you say individual will not become more aware of this step? Will not become more. Just by saying that individual will not become more aware of this step, you can't say such an increase would cause alarming rise in the sea level. Absolutely no. 100% Pras. Tell me how. Thinking what? Because you are doing a humongous assumption that they will not become more aware of the steps. First of all, they'll become more aware of the steps. Imagine they'll become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. But when you say more aware of the steps, what exactly you are thinking? That if they become more aware of the step, they'll stop reducing they will stop the greenhouse emission will stop. Now, because it will stop, the temperature will not, the sea level will not rise. Don't you feel there's a huge gap in assuming over here? Perhaps.
Yeah, Rahul, I am a little bit. I'm thinking that if they will take steps to reduce the emissions, so emissions is linked to global
No.
temperatures.
No, but how many people will? I think the individual will become more aware. First of all, more is a very quantifiable word. It's like that's what I'm telling you. You might think more aware means 100% they'll become aware of all these steps that they should be taking it, right? But I'll say no, more aware means 1% they may think more. So moment there's a probability in the answer. Because you
Yes
may
or no?
assume it is 100%, but I may assume it is just 1% people will become more aware. You may 100% assume 100%. So based on your assumption, this is the right answer. But if I assume that they have become little more aware of their steps, but that will 100% be flawed. So you can't choose an answer which is dwindling, which is based on the individual assumptions. You can't choose that answer ever. Agreed?
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. Anyone, any doubt over here, Riddhi? Is this clear?
Rahul, just one question. Can you reiterate the process that we use? Slightly confused on the process. So we start with finding a conclusion.
Simple logic. Your job is to find conclusion.
Okay.
Option number 1. Second, negate the answer choices.
So negate is basically putting a not.
Putting a not or removing a not from a sentence where the entire meaning of a sentence reverses.
Okay.
And third is your negated option should weaken the conclusion. That's all. These are the 3 steps. Clear? We'll do in this. Don't worry at all. So this is an easy question. Very easy question. Question number 3. But if you understand the question A, but is this clear, Sajid? Any problem here? Tell me.
Slightly confused about 2 and 3. I think as we go on, I'll get more clarity.
No, but
Rahul, can we take 5 minutes break?
Okay, you can take 5 minutes. But we have just discussed 2 questions. We have to discuss all the questions today, please.
Yeah, sure.
Class may go today a bit more. You can take 5 minutes break, no issues at all.
Thank you.
Because these are the discussions that will help you to solve questions, guys.
Yes.
Tell me who has problem. We'll meet at 12:15.
Rahul, can you explain 2 and 3 once again so I get a little more clarity?
Which one? 2 and?
Yeah, the step 2 and 3, negating the answer, negated option has been compared to the.
So imagine you negate option number A now. You negate for yourself. Negate option number A. What is the, and I'm listening to it.
Okay. So basically, there is a not divert, right? Not will be cancelled off.
No, read the entire sentence. Read it loud so that others also listen.
New technological developments in the new century will not divert rising seas from the world's coastal cities.
This is what you read the statement. Now read it by negating.
Sorry, read it by
negating the state.
New technological developments in the new century will divert rising.
Will divert rising. So you have removed not. So negation simple means, Sajid, that you have to insert a not or remove a not from a place where the entire meaning of the sentence reverts. Simple logic. Agreed?
Got it.
So when I say Sajid is a good guy, the negation is not Sajid is a bad guy. So when I say Sajid is a bad guy, that's absolutely. The negation is Sajid is not a good guy. So when I say Sajid is not a good guy, it means Sajid is the most brilliant guy I've ever met in my life. And Sajid could be the most dumbest guy I've ever met. So that entire probability is open. But when I say Sajid is a bad guy, it means now he's a bad guy. So that is not a negation. Negation is that insert a not at a place where the entire meaning of a sentence reverses. So a sentence may have a lot of clauses, Sajid. Your first job is to understand what is the actual sentence and place not over there where the entire meaning of the sentence is. Place not in the main action of a sentence. I would request you 100% go and read once. Just see the video of question 1 to 20 in sentence correction. It's I've given for your purpose, not for It will be very clear. You will get to understand how to read sentence. Because end of the day, you are not watching the video of sentence correction to prepare for a GMAT exam. That was a very heavy topic where you have to study sentence correction for almost for a month to be very good at it. But now it is not the part of exam, but just go and see exactly. You will get to understand when you read the sentence, what are the stuff that you should look up.
Got it, Rahul. I'll do that.
Go have some water and all. You have to speak a lot. All of you are there?
Rahul, can you share a sentence correction doc which you are mentioning in your videos in sentence correction?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Yeah, thanks.
Just let me know after the class. I'll share it.
Sure.
So can we do question number 3? Please take 2 minutes. Mark your answers. This is an easy question. Don't go mad about it at all. Take 2 minutes, mark your answer, and then we'll start discussion. Fast, please, guys. Okay. E. So if you're marking D, it means you have not read the question properly. It says the claim of utility company assumes which of the following. What is the claim? The claim is pretty simple. Written as the utility company claims that they will be able to provide a stable source of energy supplies to all their clients. The question is pretty simple. The claim of utility company assumes which of the following? What is the claim? The utility company claim that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients. Can you please tell me, can't I say that this is the conclusion also of the argument, if anyone has any doubt in that aspect? Because if you understand this is the, you don't have to understand this is the conclusion, please understand. They have very clearly mentioned to you in the question. So even if you don't understand that this is a conclusion, go a lot of time, a question helps you very clearly. The question says the claim of utility company assumes which of the following. What is the claim? The utility company claim that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients. So this is a straightforward claim. See over here. Claim that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients. Simple logic. Can't I say that this is nothing but also a conclusion? Yes or no? Because when you read after that, it says, as one can easily see, these sources will be less risky for the utility company than a non-renewable source. So when you were reading, I assume that you've read CR concept book. When you read CR concept book, they say there are lots of duplicate facts in the argument. So these are all facts which simply tries to betray you, tries to deceive you. This has got nothing to do with the argument at all. They are saying, as one can easily see, sources will be less risky than utility company non-renewable sources such as oil, gas, oil, coal, whose prices can fluctuate dramatically according to the availability. right? So what is the claim? The claim says that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their client. And what energy they are talking about? They are talking about the renewable energy, that is wind and solar power. Please check. Is this clear? Yes or no? Tell me. Is this clear? Yes or no? It's a very straightforward question.
Yeah.
In the claim, what energy they are talking about? They are talking about wind and solar power. So your answer is straight away C. When I say weather patterns are not consistent and not predictable. So imagine if weather patterns are not consistent and not predictable, do you really feel that you will be able to provide a stable source of energy? Tell me yes or no. Because they are talking about renewable energy. Now, if you go to London and you put a solar plant over there, in London, hardly 2 months in a year or 3 months in a year, the sunlight is there. Rest all, it's a very, very vague climate, very depressed climate London has. So if you put a solar plant in London, is it gonna be of any use? Yes or no? No. So my claim says that the utility company claim that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients. And what source of energy they are talking here? They are talking about wind and solar power. Now, to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients, weather pattern must be consistent and predictable. Now let's understand. Let's understand with the wording ways. Let's understand why others are wrong. The claim of utility company assumes which of the following? A says the public will embrace the development of wind and solar power. What is the claim? That they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients. Look into the wordings very properly. The company is only bothered about their clients. They're not bothered about whether public will embrace the development or they will not embrace the development. They're not bothered about you at all. If you are their client, they're only bothered about you. That's it. Whether public will embrace the development or they will not embrace the development, that is none of our job. Based on the claim of a company, it is none of our job, because claim says that I'll be providing a stable source of energy to my client. So I'm only bothered about my client. I'm not bothered about the local public at all. So whether public embraces the development or they don't embrace the development, how does that matter to me? So this is gone. Am I right? Yes or no? Tell me. Rahas, Renal, any problem here? Amit?
No.
Any problem, Amit?
No, Rahul. But the option C is not is way far from the thought process.
No, I'll come down to it. Don't worry. Option number B says what? No new deposit, gas, oil, and coal is not being talked about in the claim. So you should not choose an answer which goes to gas, oil, because they're talking about stable source of energy. That is renewable source. And they very clearly mentioned wind and solar power. So B is gone. Anyone who has any problem in option number B? Come down to option number D and E. E says what? Obtaining energy from non-renewable source, not discussed in our claim at all. So this is gone. A lot of people have a confusion with option number D, but if you read the conclusion properly, the claim properly, just because of their option number D can be wrong. It says what? The necessary technology for conversion to wind and solar power is more expensive than the technology needed to create them. And when I say it is not more expensive, don't you feel this statement is trying to challenge the fact? Leave everything. Don't you feel it is trying to challenge the fact? Yes or no? If you read the statement as it is, you don't have to negate it. It says the necessary technology for conversion to wind and solar power is not more expensive. What it says? The initial capital investment. The sources require significant initial capital investment. Just by reading this statement, this factual part, check here, these sources requires more initial capital investment. Can I say option number D is trying to challenge the fact? Yes or no?
Yes.
So your answer should never ever challenging the fact. Should never challenge the fact. Be very sure about it. Because the moment you try and challenge a fact, it gives an impression that you are not respecting the argument at all. It's a very logical thought process. If you try and choose an answer which goes against the fact, it simply means you are not following the most basic approach of critical reasoning, is to respect the argument. You are not supposed to challenge the fact at all, because it will say that you are disrespecting the argument. Riddhi, is this making sense? Yes or no?
But when you negate it, doesn't it like weaken the argument? Like,
how can it weaken the argument? Let's negate it. The necessary technology for wind power, solar power is more expensive. Let's say it says it is more expensive. Agreed? Then the technology. What is your claim, Riddhi? That utility company claim that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to their clients. Be very sure about the wording. This is how you do it. Their client means it might be expensive for you. You don't take it. I'm not bothered about you. If you are not taking my service, I'm not bothered about you. Let it be more expensive for you. How does it matter to me? I'm only bothered about my client. Agreed? Riddhi.
yes, Rahul, yes.
So I'm only bothered about my client. They are only bothered about their clients. Wording should, that's the reason I say in CR, wordings are very important, extremely important. And in the latter moment we go ahead, I'll show you how wording plays an important part in critical reasoning. So this is gone. Amit, is this making sense now or not?
Yes,
it
sir.
says weather patterns are not consistent and not. First of all, what are you talking about energy? What is the claim talking about? It is talking about wind and solar power, right? If you
Yes,
look
sir.
into the claim of a company, that the utility company claims that they'll be able to provide a stable source of energy to all their clients. So what energy are they talking about? They are talking only about wind and solar power. Be very sure about it. I hope you are very sure about it, right? If you can provide, how will you provide the stable source of energy? And you are talking only about wind and solar power. You have to understand that weather patterns are consistent and predictable. If it is not consistent and predictable, how will you be able to provide them? It's a pretty simple logic. It is absolutely not far away. It is very much within the scope of an argument. Am I clear?
But
Anyone
Rahul,
any doubt?
I'm asking in a different sense. Means, uh, wind and solar power you're talking about, and it's directly proportional to weather. But if suppose I am not that a scientific or a good
You
knowledgeable
will have
person.
to be scientific for sure. It's not about knowledgeable person. Wind and solar power means weather pattern. This you are expected to, this you are expected to have. You can't say if you are not scientific person, you are not solar person. Anyone in the world knows that weather pattern determines your wind and solar power stuff.
But
because without weather pattern, how can you say? Now imagine if you go and put in Alaska, if you go and put a solar plant, there is none of the days there is a sunlight. So why would you even do that? Right?
okay.
This is something which you are expected to know, Amit, for sure. And you are not expected to know. This is very clear that you cannot, until you are sure about the weather pattern, you can't provide wind and solar power. It's as simple as it is.
Understood.
Agreed? Anyone, any doubt? Perhaps? Any problem? Brenal?
I have one doubt. Only
Yes,
one.
tell me.
So in the passage, it's the initial investment capital investment they're talking about, right? But the operation costs are not so high. And in option D, it is saying more expensive. Okay, more is a
It is
strong
not
word.
more. It is not more expensive.
It's not money. The word I'm saying more is given, but it's given expensive, right? So, but we cannot assume that.
Point is, it is given to you expensive, right?
Hmm.
The fact, and you are telling it is not more expensive. And it is contradicting or not?
Yeah.
So that's the reason you are trying to challenge the fact, which you should not even never be doing it.
Okay. Okay.
Clear?
Mm-hmm.
Now, question number 4, guys. Something which is one of my favorite question, tough one, but you have to read it very slowly. Please take your time in this question. I have no issues. Take 2 minutes, mark your answer, and then we'll discuss. The discussion will go for a long time. Shrey, is this being clear? Shohrit, is this being clear or not?
Yes, Rahul, it's clear.
This is a bit twisted argument, but we'll do it. So try. And please learn to eliminate the answer with the help of words, and that will only happen when you read conclusion very properly. Mark your answer, please. We'll go ahead and do it. A. All right. Okay. So see here. It says that in 1992, outlaw fishing boats. In 1992, outlaw fishing boats began. Outlaw means illegal boats. Let's say it's a illegal boat. When you read it, you will understand it. In 1992, outlaw fishing boats began illegally harvesting lobsters from the territorial waters of country Belokia. What can you infer from here? If I draw a chart, it says in 1992, illegal boats began illegally harvesting lobsters. What the inference can be what from here? That before 1992,
there was no illegal
there were no illegal boats. There were only legal boats. Because this inference needs to happen if you want to do this question right. Am I 100% understood or not? Because first line says what? In 1992, outlaw fishing boats began illegally harvesting lobsters from the territorial water of country Belokia. It means what? Before 1992, there were only legal boats. In 1992, what happened? Legal was there, but illegal also came into picture. That's what they are trying to say you. That in 1992, outlaw fishing boats began illegally harvesting lobsters from the territorial water of country Belokia soon after. Now they say, soon after the annual tonnage of lobsters legally harvested in Belokian water, began declining. What happened? It says soon after the annual tonnage of lobsters legally harvested in Belokian water began declining. So what happened is that they are trying to say 1992 illegal boat has come into picture. Now when they came into picture, they say that legal harvest began declining. In 1996, despite there being no reductions in the level of legal lobsters fishing activity, in 1996, despite there being no reductions in the level of legal lobsters fishing activity, the local catch was 9,000 ton below pre-1992 level. It means what? They are trying to say in 1996, there were no reductions. If the legal boat was 100 in 1992, in 1996 also there are 100 legal boats. But they are trying to say you over in, despite there being no reductions in the level of legal lobster fishing, the local catch was 9,000 ton below pre-1992 level. So imagine before 1992, they used to catch 100,000 tons of lobsters, 1 lakh tons of lobsters. Now, what happened in 1996? The total legal catch was 9,000 less, 91,000 tons.
91,000.
And they are concluding what? That illegal catch was, the conclusion illegal catch was 9,000. Agreed?
Yeah.
This is what the argument is trying to say you. It is therefore highly likely that outlaw fishing boats harvested 9,000 tons of lobsters illegally that year. Is this making sense? Is the conclusion understood to all? It is therefore highly likely. Perfect. Now let's come down to if you have understood the conclusion well, you can straight away come down to the question. There is absolutely no ambiguity. Now, which of the following is an assumptions on which the argument depends? Argument depends with what? Conclusion depends. Because conclusion is the gist of an argument. You write all the facts to do some sort of a conclusion. So that is the opinion. That is the gist of the argument. So when you say which of the following is an assumptions on which the argument depend, it means on which of the following assumptions on which the conclusion depend. Simple logic. Argument means conclusion. Now let's say A. Let's negate A. Compared to 1992 label, the population of catchable lobsters in Bolokia territorial water had sharply declined. Now tell me, is this weakening it or not? It's a very classy logic. So if I say A causes B, A causes B, can it be weakened by saying C causes B? When you say Rahul is a good guy, he has got into Harvard, how can you weaken this statement? You can say this is crap. Rahul is a university topper and that's the reason he has got into Harvard. So when I say Rahul is a good guy, he has got into Harvard, you can weaken this by saying Rahul is a university topper and he has got into Harvard. So please understand, Rahul is a university topper, he has got into Harvard, in no way trying to strengthen the argument. So there are 3 ways you can weaken the statements. So let's say weaken statement are 99% in this because of these facts, B is happening. Matlab, this is the conclusion. The weakening can also be done by C causes B, not because of this fact. There is some other fact which causes B to happen. It can also be done by B causes A. It can also be done by A and C causes B. We'll do this in weakening term. Don't worry at all. I'll teach you all. I'm just teaching you because I'm using this over here. So it says that Rahul is a good guy. He has got into Harvard can be weakened by Rahul is a gold medalist and he has got into Harvard. It can also be weakened by Rahul has got into Harvard and that's the reason he's a good guy. It can also be weakened that Rahul is a good guy, plus he's a gold medalist, and that's the reason he has got into Harvard. But please ensure C causes B is the most frequent weakener that is tested always. This is the most frequent weakener that's tested always. Now imagine what is happening over here. When I negate statement number 1, it says compared to 1992 label, the population of catchable lobsters in Bolokian water had sharply declined. So what used to happen that before 1992, 1 lakh ton of lobsters were caught. And now they are trying to say you that population of this 1 lakh ton, that is 100,000 ton, this itself has declined to 91,000 ton. So saying that illegal lobsters got 9,000 ton, it is absolutely weakening the conclusion or not? What is conclusion trying to say you? That before 1992, there were only legal boats that used to catch lobsters. Imagine they used to catch 100,000 lobsters, that is 1 lakh lobsters. Now they are telling in 1992 what happened? Illegal boat has also come into picture. Now there's a legal plus illegal. And now they are trying to conclude that in 1996, what happened is that legal boat has caught 9,000 less lobsters. And that's the reason 9,000 lobsters has gone to illegal boat. But how do I weaken it? So they are giving you a separate reasoning that this 1 lakh ton of lobster that itself has declined to 91,000 tons. So to say that illegal boat caught 9,000 ton is crap. Am I making sense? Yes or no? Rajat? Prahas, is it making sense? Swati? Divya? Any problem here? Please tell.
Understood, Rahul. It's making sense.
Clear now? Any problem? So now when I negate this statement, this is a straightforward answer now. And imagine if this is the answer that you have got. Always remember, do a very basic check for sure. Basic check is read facts. I'll discuss all the other options. Don't worry. What is the basic checking of answer? Read fact, then read the assumptions. And now when you are reading the assumptions, now don't try and negate it. And then read conclusion and see it is falling into same sink or not. So when I'm reading this, despite see here, soon after the annual tonnage of lobsters legally harvested in Billiken water began declining in 1996, despite there being no reductions in the level of legal lobster fishing activity. The local catch was 9,000 ton below pre-1992 level. Now, compared to 1992 level, the population of catchable lobsters in Billiken territorial water had not sharply declined. And therefore, I can say in 1996, 9,000 tons lobsters went to illegal food. It is making 100% sense or not. Now, this is way you go ahead and check your answer. But you can do pre-thinking as well. Yahan pe. So what is pre-thinking? When author concludes that it is therefore highly likely that the illegal boats harvested about 9,000 tons of lobster. After, please understand, after thinking what author is concluding this. So author has filled that gap. And what is that gap? That population of catchable lobsters in 1992 and now has not sharply declined. It is exactly same. Now, because it is same and the catch is 9,000 less than 1992 and therefore 9,000 ton has been to illegal lobsters, illegal boats. Am I making sense? Anyone, any doubt over here? We'll discuss other options as well. But tell me, any doubt? A lot of you have marked answer. Which answer you have marked? Answer E. Let's come down to E now. The significant proportion of Billiken operator licensed lobster fishing. E mad. Who has marked this answer? One sec. Shohrit Jadip. Why Shohrit? Who was not? One sec.
Rahul, we can't hear you.
No, who has marked the answer? Anyone has marked answer E also? Because answer E says what? A significant proportion of Billiken operator of licensed lobster went out of business. Don't you feel it is trying to challenge the fact? Yes or no?
Yes, yes. The
Yeah.
level was same. The level did not
Because they
reduce.
have very clearly mentioned it over here that despite there being no reductions in the level of legal lobster fishing activity, if you choose option number 8, it's an absolute disaster. Am I right? This is gone. Now come down to D. The annual legal lobsters in Biloki in 1996 was significantly less than 9,000 ton. Can you eliminate D with one simple? Can you eliminate D in one sentence? How can you eliminate D in one sentence? Tell me.
It was less than 9,000. It was less than 9,000 tons. Not total was not 9,000 tons.
No. Any valid answer for why you eliminate D?
It is challenging the fact.
It is not challenging the fact. The point is simple. Do you really feel that is there any statistic that is given to you in the question that how many lobsters used to be caught and not? Is this a statistical information given to you over here? Absolutely no.
No.
They have just told that 9,000 less lobster was caught in 1996, but they have not mentioned you how much was caught in 1992 and how much was caught before 1992. So this is not a statistical questions at all. Answer will never be statistical. Answer says what? What is D trying to say? The annual lobsters harvest in Block in 1996 was significantly less than. How can you say legal lobster was significantly less than 9,000 ton? Because there is no way any statistics has been represented to you in the argument that legal catch was this. So based on that logic, absolutely, it makes no sense to mark D. Let's come down to C now. Illegal boats do not as a group harvest more lobster. So please, there is no comparison being done over here that legal boat catches more or illegal boat catches more. There is absolutely no comparison. This sentence, this option number C is trying to compare how much illegal caught and how much illegal caught. So this is gone. B says what? The average annual lobsters catch of illegal boats has increased steadily. Now again, I've told you, steady is again a non-quantifiable word. Now, how can you make this answer wrong? There is a lot of thought process required. Don't read in turns because see, in turns is separated by 2 comma. And if you read this in turn, your entire flow of reading will break. Be very sure about it. This is crap. You should not be reading this. So just ensure that you know how to read the statement, so or else you'll be simply wasting time on some places where you should not be wasting even one single second. And if you read in turn, 100% you will confuse in the exam condition. When you are reading in home, it's all okay. But please understand how should you be reading a sentence. That's again an important part of it. So the average annual lobsters catch of illegal boat has increased steadily since 1992. Now, what do you mean by it has increased steadily? Or let's say it has not increased steadily. Now, I'm trying to negate this, that average annual lobsters catch of illegal boats has not increased steadily since 1992. Tell me how it is weakening my conclusion. My conclusion says that it is highly likely that 9,000 tons were caught by illegal boats. In what way do you feel that it is trying to challenge the conclusion? If some of your marked answer be, please tell.
Yeah, so I thought in this manner, the local line number 4, line number 3 at the last, the local catch was 9,000 tons below pre-1992 levels.
This is of illegal. This is of legal lobsters. The catch was of legal lobsters, not illegal.
But
about illegal, they have directly given you a conclusion that there was 9,000 tons might have been taken by illegal boat. Because the catch of legal lobsters was 9,000 less than the pre-1992 level.
Okay.
So it says average annual lobsters catch of a illegal boat has not increased steadily since 1992. Imagine this is 1992. This is 1993. This is 1994. This is 1995. This is 1996. So they say the average annual lobsters catch of an illegal boat has not increased steadily. Steadily means what? You don't know. Steady is again a non-quantifiable word.
Okay.
Right? It has not increased steadily. It means it might have increased. It might be in 1992 they have caught, illegal boat has caught, let's say, 10 ton of lobsters. In 1993, it might have caught, when I say it has not increased steadily, it might have increased in a very rapid rate. It might have increased in a very slow rate. So when I say it might be a possibility key, here they might have caught 1,000 ton. Again, here they would have caught 20 ton. Here they might have caught again 2,000 ton. It all depends. So when you say that the average annual lobsters of illegal boat has not increased steadily, it might have increased in a very rapid rate, or it might have increased in 10 here, 20 here, 30 here, 40 here, 50 here. It might have increased in a normal rate. So just because of this, you can.
Okay.
Am I right? Prahas, any problem here? Amit, any problem? Ankit? Any discussion?
No, Rahul.
Srijan,
No, Rahul.
any problem, Srijan?
No, Rahul. I'm good.
Now again, question number 5 is a beautiful question, but you should read it very well. It's a very simple one, but I don't know for what reason people feel this question tough. I have no idea about it. But read it properly. It's a pretty simple one. Try. Take 2 minutes. Mark your answer. Okay. Answers, please. E. How come E, Mrinal? Passage is not discussing cola and okra at all.
Yeah.
They are only discussing the staple crop. Ankit, B. So come here. It says that agriculture society cannot exist without a staple crop. So cannot exist beside a staple crop, A or C. It's a fact, simple logic. It says that they cannot exist without a staple crop. Several food plants such as cola and okra are known to have been domesticated in the Western Africa, but they are all supplemental. They are not staple at all. They have written not staple foods. All the recorded staple crop grown in Western Africa were introduced from elsewhere. So they are trying to say all the recorded crop grown in Western Africa were introduced from elsewhere, beginning at some unknown date with rice and yams. Now, therefore, they are marking the conclusion. They have given you all the facts over here. And now they are trying to say you, therefore, discovering when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa would establish the earliest date at which agriculture society could have arisen there. So is the conclusion very clear or not? Anyone who has doubt with the conclusion before we get into the answer choices? They say that discovering when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa would establish the earliest date at which agriculture society could have arisen there. Tell me. Is the conclusion clear? Anyone, any doubt over here? Now let's start. Which of the following is an assumptions on which the argument depends? I'm very clear. We are very clear with the conclusion. Now my job becomes pretty simple. Our job is to negate the options and see whichever negated options weakens the conclusion. Let's negate option number A. People in Western Africa did develop staple crops that they stopped cultivating when rice and yams were introduced. Who has not got answer A is wrong? Answer A is the right answer. Else all the answers are wrong. What is your conclusion now? Discovering when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa would establish what? Earliest date. So they are trying to say you that if you discover when rice and yams came into picture, when rice and yams were introduced, in Western Africa, this will give you what? Very clearly, earliest date. Am I right or not? If you discover when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa, what will happen? It will give you the earliest date when agriculture society began in, because they say that agriculture society will not begin in Western Africa till staple foods are grown over there. That is given to me in the fact. They have directly told agriculture society cannot exist without a staple crop. And then they have concluded that when you discover rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa, this will give you the earliest date. Is this conclusion with respect to fact understood or not? Anyone, any doubt over here? Right? Will give you the earliest date. Now, if I negate option number A, that people in Western Africa did develop staple crop that they stopped cultivating when rice and yams were introduced. What do you mean by this? They are trying to say that they already have a staple crop before. Once rice and yams came into picture, they stopped the previous staple crop. But if this is the case, will you get the earliest date? Tell me this. Look into the wording very carefully. Tell me this.
No.
If there were already a staple crop before rice and yams came into picture in Western Africa, then even by discovering when rice and yams came into picture in Western Africa, will it give you earliest date? Yes or no? No, right? Is it breaking my conclusion completely? My conclusion says what? That if I get to know when rice and yams came into picture in Western Africa, we'll get to know the earliest date. Simple logic.
Correct.
Option number A says what? That there were already staple crop before rice and yams came into picture in Western Africa. So even if you get to know the date when rice and yams came into Western Africa, will you get to know the earliest date? Yes or no? Earliest means earliest, the first one. You will not get to know, right?
Yeah.
So this is the answer. And once you have got the answer, your job is to simple check your entire answer. And now when you are checking, then there is no need of negating it, because we know that assumptions by default always supports conclusion. Read fact first, then read assumptions, and then read the conclusion. See, it will take time, guys. It's a literature. It cannot be done in 1 day, 2 days. But with a practice, if you practice in a right way, irrespective of whoever you are a reader, you are not a reader, doesn't matter at all. It will start happening for sure, but you will have to give some time to it. Now imagine when I'm reading this, all the recorded staple crop grown in Western Africa were introduced from elsewhere, beginning at some unknown date with rice and yams. Now people in Western Africa did not develop staple crop, that they stopped cultivating when rice and yams were introduced. And therefore, discovering when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa would establish the earliest date when agriculture society could have arisen there. Am I making a complete sense? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yes.
Rahul, even the first statement, agricultural societies cannot exist without staple crops, that's also a fact.
That's a fact, right? Yet it's a is. Agricultural society cannot exist.
So you check with both the facts, or
Yeah, I'm trying to read from here. I don't want to start reading right from the beginning. That's the reason. But you have to read the entire. When you read fact, you can read the entire fact, then read the assumptions, then read the conclusion. So conclusion says what? That discovering when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa would establish the earliest date. Now, I'm just coming on the pre-thinking. After all, author has thought what to give you this conclusion, that discovering when rice and yams were introduced will establish the earliest date. Author has 100% given you this conclusion with this thought process, saying that people in Western Africa did not develop a staple crop, that they stopped cultivating when rice and yams were introduced. And therefore, if you get to know the dates when rice and yams came into picture, you will get to know the earliest date of agriculture society when it began in the Western Africa. Is this clear, Riddhi?
yes, Rahul.
Any problem? Swati, any problem? Prahas? I'm discussing others also, don't worry. But is this clear, Prahas?
Yes, yes,
Pradal?
sir.
Yep.
Ankit, any problem here? Shorit?
Clear out.
Perfect. Now come down to B. There are no plants. Now let's say there are plants native to Western Africa. If domesticated, the word if, could serve as a staple food crop. How is it related to my conclusion? Tell me. If domesticated means what? If it would have been domesticated, it would have been a staple crop. But moment if comes, it's a probability. 50%. Might happen, might not happen. But the point is that this statement does not relate to conclusion at all. Anyone who has marked B, for what reason you have marked B, please tell me.
Rahul, I've marked B, but
Please
then
tell me.
domesticated is within 2 commas, right? That's like an additional information which you have asked us to ignore, no, in the previous questions.
Yes, Sajid. But no, that is the point is that it's Sajid, please understand. It is that the average annual tonnage lobsters catch. So this catch will be in tons only, right?
No, so I thought if it's between 2 commas, it's an additional information which does not really relate to the
It's not additional information always. It is additional information. Why? Because they are trying to explain you the catch of lobsters will be in tons, right? They are just this additional. The point is that additional information doesn't mean that it is completely out of the scope of a statement. They are trying to say the annual lobsters catch. Now they are giving you explicit information that the catch that I'm talking about is in tons. So they have given to you in the comma. And if you read this, all I'm trying to say that you will break the flow of your reading. When it comes to over here, so So there are plants native to Western Africa that, if domesticated, so it means that there are plants native to Western Africa if domesticated. So if itself is a probability, here you will have to look into it.
Understood.
So that is like, that's the place I told you, ki don't read tons. Why? Because you will break the flow of your reading. But whatever the statement is, it is given with some sort of a understanding of what the statement is. In literature, there is nothing called purely rule that if this is between two comma, you should not read it. It's a literature, Sajid. Right? So anyway, it does not relate to conclusion at all. Anyone who feels?
Yes, I chose B. I thought that if domesticated already plants is already there, if I negate this, then there is
No, point is
no.
if domesticated means what? You don't know whether we have domesticated it or we have not domesticated it, right?
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
No,
if
but
part.
imagine. Let's say it was domesticated. Forget about if. Let's say it was domesticated only. How is it weakening my conclusion? Tell me that.
So rice and yam is not required in the. It is not coming in the picture then.
No,
If
but
there is
how do you
already
know?
plant
But
that is
how you know
domesticated.
there are plants native to Western Africa if domesticated? What plants are native? Are these plants a staple food or a supplemental food? Nothing could serve as a staple food crop. The point is you don't know what plants are. What plants are, how could it serve as a staple food crop? We don't know exactly about it. And they say there are plants native to Western Africa, if domesticated, would serve as a staple food crops. But are these plants happening before rice and yams, or these plants happening after rice and yams when it was introduced? So a lot of ambiguity is there in the sentence, right? Agreed, Jadip?
Yes, okay.
Is what? Rice and yams were grown as a staple food crop by the earliest agriculture society outside the Western Africa. We are not talking about outside of the Western Africa. We are talking about inside Western Africa. So this is gone. It is kola and okra. We are not talking about kola and okra. We are only talking about staple food. They have very clearly told you kola and okra are supplemental. See here. All this recorded staple fruit. Several plants such as kola and okra. But they are all supplemental. They are not staple at all. So we are not discussing about this. Minal, is this right?
Yeah. Rahul, the option C that you have removed. So outside of Western Africa, but like this information is given were introduced from somewhere else.
That's it. But the point is it was introduced from somewhere else. Where? In West Africa, right? So therefore, discovering when rice and yams were introduced into Western Africa would establish. So we have to establish the earliest date of a staple food crop in Western Africa. They are trying to say rice and yams were grown as a staple food crop by the earliest agricultural society outside Western Africa. Let it be. How does it matter to me? Because end of the day, I have to say earliest date of a staple food crop in Western Africa, right?
Okay.
So, but they are talking about outside Western Africa. That is none of our business at all. Agreed? Any problem here? So can we do one more question and then I leave you? I think it's getting too much for you all. But let's do one easy questions and then I leave you.
Sure.
Just one question. This is the last question. Please be here. I understand it's getting late, but again, it's important also. I do understand 3 hours of a CR will make you mad.
No, Rahul, inequality say it is much better. But yeah, we can do one more.
One more, please. That's it. Question number 6. Sorry. What Prerna ye?
Sir, yeah, it is better than inequalities.
Just shut up. Read both maths and verbal dono.
Yeah, I'm surprised how people have different opinions. I would say inequality is much better.
That's true. This is again a huge discussion question. I hope you discuss, but if you don't discuss, then I'll not discuss from my end. Be very sure. Someone should ask you a question because people will make me mad in this question. Usually people make me mad in this question. Absolutely. But very simple question. So if you don't think hard, you will easily get the answer. But if you desperately start thinking hard, it will be a problem. Just focus on conclusion. You will have answer in a second. I'm telling you. Or else we'll do simply discussion for some time for no without any logics. So see here, it says that the research shows that adolescent means children who play video game on a regular basis are 3 times as likely to develop the carpal tunnel syndrome as are the children who do not play video game. What do you mean by this statement? So it doesn't mean that
Basically
if you do
means
not,
okay.
so it simple means a smoker is 3 times more prone to get a cancer, but it doesn't mean that non-smoker will not get a cancer. I hope it's very making sense. So read in the way the sentences are written. Do not have your any assumptions of your own. They are trying to say if you play video game, the children who play video game, there are 3 times more likely to develop the carpal tunnel syndrome. This is very bad. I think even I have mine. My entire thumb keeps paining always. It's a very bad pain. So it's carpal tunnel syndrome, 3 times more likely. So I keep writing a lot. So my my right hand thumb is completely gone. It pains a lot. So you cannot have the carpal tunnel syndrome is a thumb problem. If you don't know, even if you don't know, it's absolutely fine. So they are trying to make a statement that if you play video game, you are 3 times more likely to develop a disease than a children who is not playing video game. So it is simply to say that if you smoke, you are 3 times more likely to have a cancer than the guy who does not smoke. But this doesn't rule out the probability that if a guy who does not smoke will not get a cancer. He may get, but a smoker is 3 times more likely to have.
Highly
Simple
probable.
logic. Agreed? Perfect. Now see here, who do not play federal legislation that federal legislation that prohibits the sale of a video game to minors would help curb this painful wrist condition among children. So please understand, read the wording very properly, because you will do wrong because you have not read the conclusion properly. It says federal legislation that prohibits the sale of video game to minors. Now this is extremely important. Federal legislation that prohibits the sale of video game to minors would help curb this painful wrist condition among children. Now imagine, without even looking into the answer choices, I'm giving you a sort of option that imagine if you have a child, your son and daughter, whatever, or your son and daughter wants, so the prohibition is what? For children. Your son and daughter will tell ki, Papa, I want to buy this, and I want to buy this. He can't buy because he's prohibited from the government side. Children can't go and buy, but you as a parent can always go and buy and give it to them, right? So if a government is making this plan that I prohibit the sale of video games to minors, government is taking parents into consideration for sure. That please parents follow us. If you don't follow us, we can't help you at all. So if parent says ki no, you go to hell. I don't care about your this and all. I don't care about your instructions and all. I want my children to play video game. You go and buy it and give it to them. And do you think this prohibition of sale to minors will make any sense? Yes or no? Government has prohibited sale of video game to whom? To minors. But they have one
Minors.
other possibility that they can ask their parents that Papa, buy it and give it to me, and if their parents go and buy and give it to them, then what the use of this rules? Is there any use of such rules? No. So if government is making this rule, or the government is making this law, government is 100% taking consideration that parents also, please don't buy and give it to them. If you go with this simple logic, mark straight away D as an answer and move on. Most parents would refuse to purchase. If say most parents would not refuse to purchase, then there is no point of making such rules at all, right? Don't you feel there is any point? I'll come down to option number C, don't worry at all. But is this making sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now A says what? Majority of federal legislature would vote for the bill. This is absolutely crap. There's no point of voting. Legislation is already in the place. So whether they vote, they don't vote, it doesn't matter. So A is gone. There's no point you spending 1 minute also in A. And E says what? The regular playing of video game by children does not produce such a beneficial effect as better high-end coordination. So we are not talking about the
Completely unrelated.
benefits. Yeah, we are not talking about the benefits of playing video game. There could be. There's a huge benefits of playing video game. But in this argument, we are not talking about the benefits of video game. So B says what? If I negate B, it says all the adolescent, all children who play video game on a regular basis suffers from carpal tunnel syndrome. Don't you feel it's a huge, humongous challenge to the fact if I negate it? How can you say all adolescent? They say they are 3 times more likely. So children who play video games are 3 times more likely to get the carpal tunnel syndrome. It doesn't mean that all the children who play video game on a regular basis suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome. And let them suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome. How is it trying to weaken my conclusion? Think about it. Let's not get into that discussion 3 times and all. Imagine I negate it. All adolescents who play video game on a regular basis suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome. How is it trying to weaken my argument? It is in fact trying to strengthen my argument, because they suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome, and that's the reason government should bring the rules at a place. But once we negate, my statement should 100% try and challenge the argument, challenge the conclusion. Am I right? Anyone any doubt over here? Please speak it up. This is the last question. Now come down to option number C. Now this is a place where people go mad. Hey, Rahul, why is this not the answer? A very potential answer, but D is much more potential than C. Very potential answer C also. Now see here, when I negate option number C, it says playing video game is not the only way a children can develop a carpal tunnel syndrome. So the fight here is that because if it is not the only way, that children develops a carpal tunnel syndrome, it means what? Then you can 100% ask me a question, then why should we ban that? Why should we ban the sale of video game, Rahul? Because if it is not the only way, then let children play video game, because even if we ban video game, they are developing carpal tunnel syndrome through other means. Am I right?
True.
I 100% agree with this argument for sure, but please understand, they have given you very proper statistics over here that playing video game, children can develop carpal tunnel 3 times more. They can develop this syndrome the likelihood of developing this syndrome is 3 times more than the children who do not play video game. But it doesn't mean that children who do not play video game, they don't suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome. They might be doing something else and they might be suffering, but please understand, playing video game is one of the important means to develop this disease. And this is what is highlighted over here in the argument, that they are 3 times more likely to develop. So at least what we can do in option number D, if we stop the video game, it's not that carpal tunnel syndrome as a disease will stop. People will still be getting it, but the numbers will dramatically reduce. That's the whole point. So a lot of people argue with me, if it is not the only way, Rahul, then why should we ban the sale of video game? Let it be open to all, because anyway, even if ban the sale of video game, the children will still develop a carpal tunnel syndrome, but the quantity would be very less, considering it is given to me in the argument here that by playing video game, you are likely to develop 3 times, you are 3 times more likely to develop a carpal tunnel syndrome than the children who does not play video. And that's the reason we can't consider C. D is a very straightforward optic answer, that if you ban the video game and if the parents go and buy them and give it to the children, the ban has got absolutely no use in the society. So if a government is banning video game, they are taking into consideration that parents will follow them. Simple logic. Any problem here? Please tell me.
No, Rahul.
So I'll stop today. Don't worry at all. So please, we have question number 7, we have question number 8, we have question number 9. We'll discuss all these questions in the next class. But what is the homework? Please listen to it carefully. So in next class, we'll not be only discussing 3 assumptions questions. Absolutely no. We'll also
Rahul, your voice is.
So in the next class, we'll not be only discussing 3 assumptions questions. We'll also start the evaluate part. Okay, I'll send you the mails. But now considering you have done assumptions today, now your job is I'll send you a file which contains good number of assumptions question. I'll send you a file which contain a good number of assumptions questions. All you have to do is, I'm not asking a lot to be do. I'm not asking you a lot to do because you have to also do the maths part. All I'm asking you to do, at least do 2 or 3 questions on a daily basis. And very slowly, very, very slowly. And see guys, the point is in CR, when you are solving a question, first of all, don't get frustrated at all. If you get frustrated, CR will frustrate you to the extent that you have no idea about it. So you should not be frustrated at all. Absolutely no. You solve 10 questions, you get 8 wrong, 2 right. That doesn't matter at all. It absolutely does not matter. It's all okay. At least you are doing it. It itself means a lot. The point here is that when I ask you to do 1 or 2 questions, let's say you have done a question and now you have got answer. Let's say there's answer A, B, C, D, E. You have got answer E, but the right answer says C. Don't go and read the explanation. Absolutely don't do it. It's okay that you have marked answers E and that's a wrong answer, but C is the right answer. But now that you know that C is the right answer, so you should have one reasoning of yours for sure as to why is C right and why is E wrong. And for that, you will have to go ahead again, read the argument properly. So initially you have to do all these things, or else later it will get very frustrating. All I'm trying to say, you can do 2 or 3 questions on a daily basis. First, complete this entire handout. Now I think you know how to attempt a assumptions question. So finish all these 3 questions and I'll give you extra questions of assumptions. I'll send it to you in the mail. By night today, I'll do it. When you are solving extra questions, ensure don't have a habit that if you don't understand, if you don't get the right answer, go and read the explanation directly. Because if you read the explanation directly, it means that your entire thought process of why option number C is right and E is wrong will go off. You will accept that explanation. And I don't want that you accept others' explanation. And you get wrong, that is not an issue at all. But when it says that C is the right answer and E is wrong, your humble thought process here should be to understand why E is wrong, why E is wrong. You should have at least one logic of it. You should understand why is C right. And to understand this, you'll have to go ahead and read the argument again. But if I'm telling you, if you go and write it off, first 20, 30 questions, things will be very clear because you know these are fact, this is conclusion. It will be much easier for you to relate. So all I'm trying to say, you can just do 2 or 3 questions each of assumptions. And I'm also sending you, because in the class we'll start evaluate. And I'll just start evaluate, I'll not complete evaluate, so don't worry. So I'll be sending you a document of evaluate. I think CR concept book, it is said everything, what needs to be done. But you also have to start reading evaluate so that we can start evaluate. I can explain you what exactly in evaluate theory is not 23 pages. So don't go mad about it. It is just 2 or 3 pages. That's it. Because you have to be good in assumptions and evaluate. These 2 topics you are good at, and I'll give you time. I promise after evaluate, I'll give you one class where you go and practice all in all. Don't at all worry that I'm finishing everything in one shot, but assumptions and evaluate needs to be done properly and simultaneously. So after evaluate, I'll ensure that I give you time to practice, but we will have to start evaluate in the next class. I'll send you, and the logic remains same. When I say you have to start evaluate, your job is to go read the what is that called, theory part from CR concept book. It will be written to you in the handout, and then try doing questions. That's in the handout of evaluate that I'll send it to you. And I will not finish evaluate next class. Don't worry at all. I'll discuss very slowly because I want to finish these 3 assumptions questions also. But the point is, you can't be just doing these questions. In CR, what happens, the beauty about CR is that if you do one question, till next 3 years, you will remember that question answer for sure. Remember, it won't happen. It's not like sentence correction and all. If you do one questions properly, till next 2-3 years, you will remember that answer. So please ensure that do it slowly, do it properly. Don't rush it up at all. If you start seeing answers of everything, that you will never learn from that questions all in all at all. Because if you are doing CR where you know the answers, your thought process would be absolutely zero. Yes, Jadip, please tell me. Jadip?
Yeah, hi Rahul.
Yeah.
So I got the part that assumption, the step 1 and 2 and 3, but out of the questions, how do I identify this assumption question?
No, I'll send you assumptions questions. I'll send you separately where all the
No,
questions
no,
will
no.
be of assumptions.
I got the part assumption. I got the part that all the step 1, 2, 3 will be. I have to follow that. But suppose how do I identify that it is an assumption type question?
It is written over here, no? If it will be written to you in the question only when they give you the doctor's conclusion depend on which of the following assumptions.
Okay.
Everywhere it will be written. Like let's say which of the following is an assumptions on which the argument depend.
Okay, got it.
Which of the following is an assumptions on which the argument depend. Okay, I hope I'm very clear. So please ensure that you give minimum 2 hours time. Minimum 2 hours. So 2 to 3 hours would be an idle. If you give 3 hours, it's idle time for me. So in 3 hours, what can happen that you have a quant 1.5 hour, you have a verbal 1.5 hour. So in quant 1.5 hour, I have made it very clear till Wednesday you do inequalities. After Thursday, Friday, you should all start absolute value. In verbal 1.5 hour, if you just ensure that you match up, you put your time properly, it will never be a concern. You will never tell me, Rahul, now you are asking me to study, evaluate, you are asking me to do assumptions questions. So in this 1.5 hour, half hour you study, evaluate part. And 1 hour you do the assumptions questions, because I'm sure that now you don't have to study the theory part of assumption. Just study the questions, just try doing the questions of assumptions and be very open in doing questions. Don't bother about it stuff, it's easy. Just think, aram se write what is fact, what is conclusion, try your best to analyze how it can be done. So 1 hour you do assumptions, half an hour you do evaluate, read evaluate also, because we can't have that sort of a thought process that once we get very fine in assumptions, then we go to evaluate. This is not how it will work off. You should understand everything how it works. Yes, please tell me, someone was saying something.
Yeah, Rahul, I have one question. Actually, it's a very silly question.
No issues, tell me.
Question 6, options numbers. Wait, let me check it out. C. Okay, so in this type of options where like only is mentioned, like playing video games is the only way you can get the syndrome, or in some other question it's the only way you can get cancer or something like that. So usually, is there a trend, is there a pattern somewhere that usually these types of options are wrong?
No, this is all crap. These things happens in RC. In reading comprehension, you eliminate the extreme word answers, but never ever in CR. I can show you a lot of answer where most is written and that is the right answer. Unique is written, that is the right answer. So this doesn't work with CR at all. You should you should not go with in critical reasoning with such thought process, sir. I know that you might have read those things, but these things are wrong. 100% wrong. In CR, this doesn't work at all.
Okay.
Absolutely no. Anyone, any problem? I hope the homeworks are clear. I'll send you a mail by night where I'll send you assumptions questions. I'll send you a mail for evaluate. So it's a simple thing. Complete all 3 questions of assumptions by yourself. Go slow. Understand everything. We'll discuss all these 3 questions. And we'll also start evaluate in the next class. We cannot just discuss these 3 questions in the class. And now that's it. I have given you a maths work to do. You have the verbal work you will have by tonight. Anyone, any problem? Or should we close it for today?
So Rahul, can you also create that group just for
yes, do one thing now. So do one thing, Namran. I'll just create a link of a group and you WhatsApp it to me. In the mail, I'll send that link to everyone.
Okay.
Just create one link and WhatsApp it to me. I'll send you the link in that email to everyone, so they can join that. Okay. Perfect.
And now also share the sentence correction doc.
I'll send it to you. Just call me after 1 hour and I'll share it to you for sure.
Yeah,
you can share in the group as well, right?
What?
You can share that in the mail or in the WhatsApp group as well, right?
Yeah, I'll see. That's what I'm
Yeah.
telling Mrinal. Just create a
Okay.
link, Mrinal, send it to me. I'll share it in the mail. You can join there. No issues at all. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Chalo,
Bye,
फिर,
Rahul.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.